Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. We're on day 3 of the VeteransBizUp conference. I want to give at least a few more minutes for those. I've sent out the message again to remind folks to please join. So I'm just going to give them about 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we're just going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and get this going this morning for day 3. Thank you all for joining. I know it's been a lot of information, so I appreciate everyone who has come out and actually stuck with the 3-day. And just want to remind everybody that this is going to be a recorded session, and the link to all 3 sessions will be given out to those who attended so that they can get additional information, as well as the link to the handouts that presenters have submitted to us. And I think I have some updates to that link. So be sure to go back out to the link and download the information so that you can be prepared for it. I'm also going to encourage you to please share the event with everyone. And if you would like to participate in a future event, let me know. If you would like to support any of the campaigns or programs that we have on our website, please do so at destinationachievers.org. And we're just going to go ahead and get started this morning. And in addition to that, I'm pretty sure people are going to be popping in at the different sessions throughout the day. Be sure to share alike. So today we're going to be talking about, right off the bat, the 7 steps of creating a virtual business. Now, I know that a lot of business owners know that technology is out there, having applications on your phone, programmable apps to help you out. However, COVID-19 has really proven that a lot of business owners have not taken technology very seriously when it comes to virtuality. A lot of businesses had closed their doors, pretty much closed up shop, who have been in business for more than 10, 20, sometimes 30 years, and have really looked at their business in a totally different way. We now see that everyone is taking advantage of having some sort of virtual platform with their business. I personally started off in a virtual way, and it was sort of easy for me to come back and also be virtual this time. But a lot of business owners, and especially new business owners, didn't even have a shot. I mean, if you had a brick and mortar business and you was not really leveraging your ability to use technology on a mobile level, it really played havoc on the business. A lot of people shut their doors, as you know, or reached out for funding and grants and stuff like that. So today in this presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go over some of the things that I teach my students on how to incorporate a virtual platform or some sort of niche into your business so that you can stay in business no matter what happens. So we're just going to get on into that. And then following after that, we're also going to be having a health track from Dr. LaQuista Erna. We're also going to have a business panel, which is going to be awesome today. We're also going to have Shelly Rollins and Rita Bruce here today, giving us amplifying the possibilities of transitioning and helping you out through those things, followed with another special financial. And you don't want to miss this one, because this is M&T Bank talking about mortgage options. So if you are looking for a home and they have options for veterans, or even if you're not a veteran, you definitely want to hear what M&T has to say today. And then the last track of the day is going to be Thomas Ellis. He's going to give us 9 tips to close more sales. So make sure you stay throughout the whole time. So let's get in it. So just a quick introduction about myself. I actually run 2 organizations. One is Austin Tech, which is a small business development company, which I help people start businesses, starting with those who have home-based businesses, or maybe they have a side hustle, or maybe they're thinking about starting a business. I pretty much and primarily work with those individuals who are looking to start a business. And then Destination Achievers is the other hand, which is workforce workforce development, helping people find jobs, retain jobs, and also helping them with their own personal resources so that they can maintain and reach their goals. And so I've been doing this kind of work for 24 years. I really absolutely love what I do. And I just really have the passion to help people on both fronts because I believe that career and business go together. You could choose whichever one you would like to choose with your skills. And so that's why I sort of love to have those sides of the coin. I also have a lot of partnerships over the years of organizations and companies and even individuals who I worked for over a number of years. Some of them at University of Phoenix, the Prince George's County School System, the Maryland Business Roundtable of Education, and a whole bunch of people, including Capital One, M&T, and Leidos, who graciously participated and is a corporate sponsor of this event. And also the Maryland Department of Labor, who also have been very influential in helping us pull this event together, along with all the other organizations who I really appreciate. So I want to thank people for that. So let's get into it. So, and if you have any questions, by the way, please take yourself off mute. It's a small group today. So, feel free to either raise your hand or just take yourself off mute. Don't worry about interrupting me. It's totally fine. We're going to talk about the elements of creating a virtual business and what that really looks like. We're also going to talk about the initial concept of a business niche and how you can actually build that niche into your business and have a virtual component, and what type of equipment do you need to do that, and how would you even build a business presence. I had a call yesterday with a potential client, and the first thing he said was, I'm a small business person, I do HVAC, and I have never really had a website, and I'm making all this money. So how do I go out now and build an online presence so that people can actually see what I'm about, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to be talking about how you can market to your audience using a virtual platform and what that looks like, how much work it's going to take. And also, we're going to be talking about business-to-business partnerships and business strategies on how you can leverage and monetize further with your business through partnerships, and where you can get help. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute. So the very first thing, you have pros and cons to these. And let me see if I can just get this as bigger so that people can actually see. Well, I guess it didn't want to do it that way. Okay, so brick and mortar businesses, you have pros and cons. So as a brick and mortar, again, you have instant credibility because you have a facility. People can actually relate to you faster. You have a little bit more respect because you actually have a brick and mortar business, an office where people can come and actually see you in person, right? So that's one of the other pros there. You can have staff at that facility to really show how credible your business is and how much growth you're having based on the number of employees that you have, versus if you have a virtual business, just for those few points, you have to build your credibility over time because, again, you don't really see your customer. These are people who are online, social media. I call them ghosts until they actually turn into an actual person, and you know that they're people, but you don't really have a handle on really making that initial connection because there's no face-to-face interaction. The other thing too is that with a virtual, even though it's a pro, you do have the ability to meet people on all different levels and located at anywhere in the world. That is definitely a plus, but it's going to take more work to reach those people. Also, you can outsource to other virtual businesses. So that's another plus that you can do by being a virtual business, as opposed to if you're a brick and mortar trying to outsource, you would still have to call another company and vet them and try to see how you can collaborate. Because there's a lot of separation there. You know they're doing the work for you, but how do you guys collaborate together where you can see the work that's going on? And so having a virtual component like Microsoft Azure or AWS platform where you can actually have the documentation and you guys can have that further collaboration is where a virtual component could be very helpful. The other thing about having a pro is you can have one-on-one or group meetings, and you can build business business to business relationships, because you can have events, you can, have instances where you can have small pockets of networking events and really build those relationships and tighten those up. And because you're dressed in a professional way, that also speaks credibility to your business, because you're dressing appropriately. And the same thing for being virtual. You can definitely be professional and dressed appropriately on a virtual scale. Now, what are the cons? Okay, so we have a cons. So if you're a brick and mortar business, of course, the cost of just having an office is sometimes insurmountable. It literally dictates and really pushes you to generate sales to cover your monthly expenses, for your phone, your internet, your staff, your unemployment insurance, your workman's compensation, and anything else that you are using for your business. When you have a brick and mortar, there's so much into it that you have to put in, versus being virtual. There's literally zero overhead other than your computer system, your camera, and maybe your monthly bill for your internet. So if you really think about having that virtual component, that's what you want. You also may have to invest more money in advertising. That's the other con too about being virtual, because you are trying to reach those people that could potentially be your customer, that you're not sure where you're going to find them. You will have to spend more money to advertise to certain neighborhoods or certain counties, or maybe in another state, to reach the customers that's going to buy what you have. The other con is that because it's so broad, you're going to get an influx of different people, and you will have to work a little bit harder to land that sale. So I would say, if you hear at the end of the day when Thomas Ellis and he's talking about landing sales, just take note of that. But you definitely have to, land that sale the moment you get them on the phone, because time is money. Okay. And the other things too that you may have here as well, is if you have to pay additional county taxes. Those are things that you have to do as a brick and mortar. You have to pay assessment taxes for the place that you are doing business. And sometimes you get one at your office. And if you have a home office, you will also get an assessment for your home office as well. And I see that Valerie has a question. So go ahead, Valerie, ask your question.
Yes, and I was wondering about hybrid situations where I've heard of places like, I believe, WeWork, where you can take and rent an office for 2 or 3 days out of the week, and then you have your virtual model. Is that worth the effort? Because it seems like the best of both worlds. Thank you.
No, not a problem. That's a great question. Okay, so I personally took advantage of a shared workspace cloud here in Capitol Heights. Now, the pro for that was, yes, I was able to rent a space, and I was able to use it however I needed to use it, paid the fee, had a membership, and it actually worked out very well. Because the pro with that is, Valerie, is that you can actually test out whether or not an office will work out for you. So that was my test to say, if I had an office, what would that feel like? What would that be like? And can I actually have my virtual platform function in that space? Because I may not want to do my webinars at home where I have my kids and my dog or my cat making noise. I may want to have a space. Now, the con is that you have to move your stuff. There's no place for you to actually set up home unless you're actually leasing a whole office. Now, the other pro that I had before I got my physical office, before COVID, was that I actually paid for an office to be just totally mine. And it was great because I was able to put my computer in there, maybe store some stuff in there, and it was still a shared office, but I was able to, put my stuff in there. And then the con is that on the days that I wasn't there, someone had to be able to use my office when I'm not there. And I didn't particularly like that, because that meant that they're sitting in my chair and they're messing around on my desk. And I felt a little violated. Not that they did it on purpose, but I had to understand that it was a shared space and it did not belong to me. And so after about a year or two of doing that, I decided that having the office was the best option for me. So hopefully that was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay. So the first step you want to do is having elements of a virtual business is that you need to have a message. Okay. And the message is basically your first step of building a niche. You have to have some sort of a strategy on how you're going to implement this thing over a virtual platform that your customers can understand. And we all remember that famous line in Purple Rain when Prince was dancing around and singing his song on the stage, and then he got upset and went and tirade all the room. And the guy said to him, only you understand what you're singing. Okay, only you understand it. So you have to have your business niche in a message, or that message or passion that's coming out of your business has to speak extra volumes because you don't have that face-to-face connection with people. So having that in a business plan is a great way to do this. I can't tell you how critical having a business plan, even if you're never ever going to use it to get funding. Everyone should have some sort of a pitch deck or a business plan that's going to highlight and really break down your strategy on how you're going to reach your customer and have it in a way that they can understand. Also, another element you could do is managing your time, having a consistent time where you are videotaping, live streaming, pre-recording, and broadcasting that information out. If you think about television programs that come on at a set time every single week, you know that The Voice is going to come on at 8 o'clock, or America's Got Talent is going to come on Fridays at 9. You know that that show is going to come on. So having a specific and consistent time frame where you can live stream or you can do pre-recording is a great way to reach your market. The other thing you want to do is have a really good marketing plan. Just throwing out social media ads or talking to someone about, hey, tell someone about my sales strategy, that's not really going to cut it. You actually have to have some sort of a plan throughout the year on how you're going to effectively meet your market. You notice in advertisements that when Valentine's comes around, they're starting 2 months early. When Christmas is here, they're already starting at Thanksgiving. They're thinking about all the different ways that people can spend their money, and they're jumping to make sure that they're getting their products out and seen by the customer. Okay. You also want to have a likability and uniqueness to your business, but you don't want to be so unique that people don't understand or they miss the entire message. So you want to have that brand really tightly with the message, and it's very clear cut and everything. You also want to have the proper video equipment, cameras, background, just like you see here, be very clear so people can see. I even have the Rode mic, which I'm going to talk about that. I have HD camera, I have a green screen behind me. These are the things that you have to invest in if you're really trying to build your online presence and you want to come across very professional. These are the things you have to do. And also just, again, networking. This is what we've been talking about the whole 3 days. Building business to business relationships so that you could be on someone's calendar to talk about what you offer. So let's talk about the initial, the concept of building a niche. Okay. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'm definitely going to be doing an overview. But basically, in a nutshell, what you want to do is have a message that the customer understands, one, the problem that you're solving, the profitability and value of what it is that you are providing, meaning that you're not only solving their problem, but it's solving your problem too, because as a business owner, you are trying to make a profit. And that problem for you is trying to find that customer who wants what you have, and being able to speak to that customer in a way that they're saying, okay, what are you really selling here? What are you really offering me? So that's the first thing. If you can answer that question for yourself, and I usually break this down for the students because sometimes they say, oh, I'm just really selling, some lotion, or I'm just really selling this. But yes, you're selling lotion, but what is it going to do for me as a customer? And that's how you have to break it down and really look at the person that you're selling it to, right? How customers understand your product is when they have a buy-in. So if they really understand what it is that you're doing, they're going to immediately have a buy-in, and they're immediately going to start asking questions. And this is where you could talk to them, use the techniques that we taught you on day 1 and 2 about building relationships, finding that commonality, and actually converting them to a buyer just by having that likability, relating to them on some level, and getting them to understand how this product or this service can help them, right? And when they see that message, they say, oh, I know what this does for me, and I think I could think of 3 other people that this will help. And this is how word of mouth gets around about your niche in your business. So also, what is the value that you're adding to your business and to the customer? If the value to the customer that they have lotion, it costs effectively, it feels good on the skin, the benefits is that my skin is going to be nice and soft, they're going to tell 5 other people about your product because it helped them. And also, what are 1 or 2 things that makes your business very unique, that is different from everyone else? Has to be very clear to the customer. And what is that 1 special thing that is your niche of your business? There's a difference between being unique and having a special thing. So, and I'll give you a quick example. So being unique could mean that you can do this lotion and maybe you're adding shea butter to this lotion and you're creating a new product which makes you unique. You have a, you're adding this extra element, but that 1 special thing could be your action. It could be how you're selling it. It could be the way that you're selling it online, making it attractive to people to come to you and be able to do it. And we see it all the time with influencers. They have this 1 special thing that they say all the time, like Joe or Olstein. He always has this 1 line that he says all the time, and people just gravitate to him because, that's the thing that they really most relate to. So you have to come and find that 1 special thing that people will love to know about. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to take you off mute or raise your hand or something like that. Okay, so just getting into the niche again, the 1 thing you want to do is understand what your industry participants are doing. These are your main competitors. These are the ones that have been in business for a long time and have been doing it and doing it well, actually. You want to make sure that you understand how they're doing it through their distribution of their information to the customer. How is the customer able to keep finding them, and why do they want to keep buying from them? So steps 1 through 4 here, where it says creating a marketing and sales plan, is literally your breakdown and your small research on what the industry participants are doing. And these could be people who are on your level or bigger, or maybe they're just starting out. How do you compare your business to these industry participants, and how would you be able to compete with them, right? What is their niche, right? So by understanding what the other competitors' niche is, you can figure out what makes you different, what makes you unique, and that special thing that you will actually have, right? The second thing is understanding the actual buyer for the product that you're providing. So yes, you can advertise to everyone. Everyone says that, right? However, if you really pay attention to commercials, and if you look at the colors, if you look at their clothing and their whole appearance, or maybe even the whole message of the commercial, you'll notice that they are targeting a specific person. That person has a mindset that is going to be looking for that specific product because of a behavior or interest, or maybe they are gravitated to a certain color, or maybe they're gravitated to a certain style that they want to associate yourself, because 90% of sales is bought by emotion. It is triggered by the brand that gives that emotion to make you feel a certain way, happy, sad, whatever. You want to make sure that you can reach that actual person through your branding and your niche, if that makes sense, right? The other thing is you want to create something that's repeatable. So something that's a wash, rinse, repeat type of consistency will help people remember your product. So if you have a special niche that you have tied to your brand, You can use that over and over and over again, and people will start remembering what your brand is about, to the point where all they see is your logo and they know exactly who you are and what you're about, right? So that is what you want to do. You want to align your business niche with your customer through effective messaging and understanding strategically how you're going to market to those people. Okay. All right, so just to overview the pros and cons of doing, or the benefits thereof, of a traditional business plan and a lean pitch deck. Okay, so there's two different types here. Most of the time, if you're going for a traditional funding, like Sean talked about at M&T Bank, no, Capital One, and then we're going to have M&T Bank today. If you're ever going for a business loan, you need a traditional business plan. And that plan is going to lay out all of the capabilities of your business. It's going to help you identify any gaps, and it's a living document that you're going to update through the years so that you can see how you have grown, or maybe some point of sales that didn't, point of contact that didn't happen. You may want to regroup and re-strategize on those things. It helps you stay focused on your tasks and keep you in line with your business, because a lot of times we need structure. We got a whole lot going on. We're trying to do this and that. And the business plan is a document that will literally reel you back and say, here's the reality of where you started, and now this is where you are. Do I need to make some changes? Do I need to re-strategize my business? Do I need to even change my business? Because maybe what I tried to do was not really effective. So having a business plan is definitely going to help you do that. And it's also going to help you, how much money are you realistically going to be able to make and generate? So this is where your cash flow information that Kenneth talked about, having a cash flow statement, a forecasting of how much money you intend to make, and it can scale with your business. So those are the benefits of a traditional business plan. Now, a pitch deck, or a lean pitch deck, are for those that's looking for angel investors. So you've been in business maybe 5, 6 years, maybe even 10 years. You don't really technically need a full-blown traditional business plan. You can actually have a lean deck that is very short, concise, to the point, and have all of the key information that angel investors or funders will be looking for. And then if they want to get a deep dive into your business, you can provide them with a traditional business plan. So those are the two different business plans that I highly recommend for the different type of reasons that's out there. And it will also help you build your niche. Now, where the virtuality comes in at is that you can use these business plans to really highlight an area of your business plan where you will operate on a virtual level, having a mobile app, or using a website, or maybe doing something that will engage people through the internet. Will be a great way to highlight further capabilities. And you can take that information and put it in your capability statement. So whether you're not or going for the government, every business should have a capability statement, or at least a one sheet of their business accomplishments and what you've done for organizations throughout the whole time. So you definitely want to do that. So let's talk about video and audio equipment and the space.
And may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
So with your business plan, I have a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it and it sits in a folder. Should you pull out your business plan every couple of years and revisit it? Or is it a static type of document?
You should be pulling out that business plan every time there's a major change in your business. For me, I'm pulling out my business plan at least twice a year, because I know that I have put out some proof of concept, workshops and things like that. And maybe in my mind at the time, I thought it was a great idea. And then when I went back and looked at my whole entire scope, my whole mission, my vision, I looked at everything that I'd done. Did it really make sense at the time? And what you can do with that business plan is that you can restructure it to really align what you're trying to do. You could use it for marketing. You could use it for RFP proposals. You could use it to develop and this is what I did to meet different partnerships. I actually took portions of my business plan, turned into a beautiful brochure that highlighted my best work. And I was able to schedule meetings, have them come down to my office and hand them a beautiful brochure. And when they walked off with it, they knew what I offered. And so when I called them back and say, hey, let's start working, they were like, yeah, man, I see you doing great stuff. You know, that's the power like of a business plan. So you should be looking at that thing like every time there's a major issue, or maybe twice a year, you should be pulling out your business plan and saying, did I meet these goals that I said I was going to do 6 months ago? Or did I meet the goals of revenue that I said I was going to do last year? Did I accomplish what I really set out to do? And if you didn't, you may want to go back and look at your vision, your mission, and your goals and see if your goals or your mission needs to change. I hope that answered your question. Okay, yes, at least 1 year. Excellent. Yes. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the virtual stuff. And I know I'm going a little bit late, and we're going to have Dr. Erna come up in just a second. But I think people are like, so I'm going to run through this real quick. So virtual platform equipment. So of course, I'm not going to read through all of this, but the one thing you got to have is space to do your stuff. Even if you have such a small space like I do here, you would never know. If you look at my video, I have chosen a very clear background. I have high quality cameras. I have a green screen to make sure that I stand out, and I'm using OBS and I'm using Zoom and Google Meet to have an effective and professional. The worst thing you can have is a video camera that's not clear. I can't hear you. You can't hear me. Your audio is garbled. It is just best to just go ahead and just order the equipment that you need to do that. Now, here are some vendors. Now, B&H Video, they have excellent equipment. I literally just bought myself a brand new Canon camera so I can have that nice, cool fade out background. Okay, I have a Rode mic that I'm speaking on right now, and I have a Rodecaster where I can have different sound effects because, you know, when I do my podcast, you know, I want to have really nice stuff. So having the equipment, investing in equipment is like investing in your business. And any investment that you do in your business, remember, you can write this off as a loss and get money back in your taxes. So just keep mind of that. The other thing you want to build an online presence is that you want to test your information. You want to invite your speakers for a test run. You want to host a free session just to kind of get a feel for it. You want to be open, get surveys, understand what you're doing wrong, what you need to do to improve. This only helps you. So no criticism is bad at all. So I would just say, get your video equipment, do some tests with your kids, test with whoever, and really up your game when it comes to your online presence. And also you want to connect through a payment gateway. So if you want to monetize and you want to do something on your website and charge, make sure that you have a website, get with WooCommerce, PayPal, Stripe, Eventbrite, Cvent. Also, YouTube is a great money maker. If you can get followers, you get over 1,000 views, you can monetize your videos and actually get a few dollars. My son actually has a YouTube station, more than 20,000 people. He's been doing that for 6 years, making at least $300 to $500 a month on, his YouTube. Great side thing he's doing. You can also use repurpose.io to take your video podcast and put it on YouTube or put it on Stitch or put it on wherever. It actually repurpose your audio and video content. So check out repurpose.io. I actually use them. Also, make sure you're on someone's calendar. Please get into an event, tell people about it, use your sales literature, and do giveaways and things like that. As far as business to business relationships, you want to make sure that you can invest, partner, grow, and build results with your partners through spending quality time with them, understanding their needs, solving their problems, and using your virtual platform to help promote your cause and the cause of the business that you're building. And I'm going to make these slides also available to everyone. And if you need help understanding about your virtual, you can also call me for a 30-minute session. It's totally free. You can join my website at Austin Tech and kind of get access to some of the videos we have there. You can join a webinar. You can check out my YouTube channel. I have lots and lots of videos, especially my audio podcasts on business that will help you virtually, and just get out your comfort zone. This is new now. This is the new norm. Virtual is the thing. So other than that, here is my information. I know I'm a little few minutes over, but here's my information. Again, Austin Tech is my small business development. We work with small business to help them understand their business and help build it. And we also have a workforce development, Destination Achievers, and which is the conference that you're attending now. And if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, please do. Here's my LinkedIn address. And does anyone have any questions? I know we kind of went through that very quickly. Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, please feel free to let me know if you have questions. Next up, we have Dr. Erna. She's going to go ahead on and share her screen because we're going to just get right into it. And she's going to be talking about how you can use your stepping stones for success. So welcome. All righty. So she's going to share her screen and we're going to get right into it.
So good morning. Good morning. My name is Dr. LaQuista Arena. I know it's very difficult to pronounce. I got two very hard names, LaQuista and Arena. I promise you, Arena, I did not choose that name. That's my married name, my ex-husband's name, but you can call me Dr. LaQuista, Dr. E. Doesn't matter. I answer to all. Being in the military, you tend to take on all types of names. So, all right, I'm gonna try to pay attention to the chat as well. This is a small, intimate group, so please feel free to jump in. If you have any questions, unmute yourselves. I think we can kind of have like a conversation, like we're family here, right? And so thank you, Miss Ann, for having me this wonderful Thursday morning. I almost said Friday because today is my Friday. I'm not working on Fridays, so it feels like Friday for me. So I hope you all are doing well. All right, so we will be discussing how you can use your challenges as stepping stones. And so I named this presentation, We Got 99 Problems, but Success Shouldn't Be One. And judging by the climate, the time we're in today, I think we all can agree that we all have probably experienced some type of challenge or, some situation that didn't go quite as well. And so I'm going to teach you or show you how you can change that into a successful path for you if you so choose. All right, so who am I? Like I said, I'm Dr. LaQuista Arena. I am an Army veteran, Go Army. I served 2 tours in Iraq and 1 AGR tour, which is Active Guard Reserve. So I entered the military as a reservist, but I had quite a bit of active duty time due to my deployments and then my AGR tour. Now, after my second deployment, I, like many other veterans, kind of suffered with depression, PTSD, and I just saw a lot of my battle buddies like really struggling to reintegrate back into their civilian lives, myself included. And it was really me going to the VA, getting help, that I decided that I wanted to do this work. I wanted to work with veterans who had experienced similar things that I had experienced. And I really made a connection with a social worker there who really helped me when I was at the bottom. Like, I didn't know anything about turning those stepping stones into successes back then, but I guess in some ways I kind of did, because that really launched my career into becoming a social worker. And so I went to school, got my degree as a social worker, and really wanted to work with veterans, military. So started out in the VA, continued with the military, and now I am a two-time Amazon bestselling author. I have my own private practice where I specialize in working with trauma. So I primarily work with women, but I'm happy that, with the climate of mental health, that we are seeing more men get into the mental health space, particularly men and women of color, really opening up to mental health and eliminating that stigma surrounding that. So I most recently launched a wellness brand that combines my love of fitness, mental health, and self-care. So that's a little bit about me. That's all the good stuff, but as you see, it gets better. So the plot thickens as we go on. So those are all of my accolades, but just like everyone else, there is another side to the story. All right. So I have this question. What is the difference between a stumbling block and a stepping stone? And you may have heard this before. You may have heard this saying or this quote. And I tried to research and see who actually said it, but it's been said so many times that it just says unknown or an American proverb. I don't think I've ever heard of an American proverb, but that's what it says. So can anyone tell me or drop in the chat, what is the difference between a stumbling block and a stepping stone? Anyone want to take a guess?
Perception.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Anyone else?
I would say a stumbling block is your challenges, and your stepping stone could be your accomplishments, or maybe your next milestone.
Yeah, absolutely. What you both said is absolutely right. So your perception and how you use these stones. So I say how high you raise your feet, right? So if you're coming along and you have this stone in your path, you don't raise your feet high enough, you can really take a really hard tumble and fall and hurt yourself. But if you just lift your feet and you're paying attention a little bit, you can continue on your path, or you can even take a different path. And so, yeah, your perception, looking at that challenge, that stone as a roadblock can really stop you from meeting like your destination or your potential for greatness. Or what do you do with that? Like making lemonade out of lemons. So yeah, how you raise your feet, your perception, your outlook determines your outcome. I know we've all heard of all of these things, but today we're going to be talking about how we're going to be able to use those. All right, so just a brief overview of what we will be discussing today. So what are challenges? So I'll be going over some common challenges that are particularly catered to the military and veteran populations. This this population is very unique, but it's also indicative of what is happening in the real world. It's just a smaller subpopulation of what is going on in the outside world. We just have unique challenges. We'll also be addressing the pandemic. I think that is the big elephant in the room. One of the largest challenges that we have all faced. We'll be talking a little bit about trauma, how to reset, focus, implementation, and then finally self-care and maintenance. So again, if you have any questions as we're moving along, or I'm going too fast, or you can't hear me, just let me know. All right. So challenges, and like I said, these can apply to military veterans, but also everyone. So some of the challenges, and then I'll just kind of tell you a little bit about my story, is divorce. We know that military divorce rates rank amongst the highest population there is. So ranking number 8 out of the top 10 professions who have the highest divorce rates. And when you compare enlisted versus officer, the rates are even higher, depending on what type of job you have. So particularly enlisted first line supervisors who have like a tactical or more like a field type or artillery type career field, their divorce rates are higher by the age of 30. Um, Throw this pandemic in here and you see divorce rates going higher, or really couples really having challenges being in the home with one another. I've seen an increase of couples seeking therapy due to the pandemic. I don't know if that was, you really don't spend as much time when you're going out of the home to go work, to do everything, and then you're coming back and spending a few hours with your spouse and your family before you eat dinner, go to bed and do it all over again. But now in the climate of a pandemic, a lot of people you can't move around as you once could, and you're finding yourself stuck in the home with this person who you married, which, that should be a great thing, more time. And for some people, it has absolutely brought them closer together. But for others, it's like, hey, I really don't know this person, or I don't know how to talk to this person. So a lot of times we go through the motions, and so that can be a challenge. PCSing or transitioning out of the military. So frequent moves. I think earlier this week, I caught one of the presentations and it is really kind of escaping me, but the presenter talked about how with military spouses, those frequent moves really doesn't look good on resumes sometimes. So it can be difficult for them to find work because of, having to move or being uprooted. And then you think about having a business, like you start a business in one location, and then in a couple of years, you have to uproot. And then you have to learn the laws or the rules, taxes, and all of that for that new location. So it can be very challenging and also cause financial strain on the family. And that leads into job loss. So loss of job of the spouse, you're transitioning out of the military. When I worked at the VA, I started my social work career in homeless programs. And I was just absolutely amazed at how many people were coming out of the military and not really being prepared for the outside world. I know for a lot of military and veterans, like the natural transition for some is to get a federal or government job. Like many are trying to go to the VA, but that's not always the case for some. Like people are not, well, that was, several years ago, there were less opportunities to really prepare for transition in life after the military. And I see so many people taking that opportunity to be transition coaches, to work with veterans, because we have lots of skills that are very very profitable, reliable. And so if you can get a veteran, help them as they transition, like the sky's the limit as far as what can be accomplished. And so another thing when it comes to jobs is lack of high paying professional jobs for like spouses. So if you're going to like a secluded location, you may not be able to get that professional job if you are professional, or if you have a professional license. I'm licensed in, I think, 5 states now because I've moved around so much, which it has benefited me. But trust me, the process has been grueling. Every state is different, trying to understand like all of these laws and rules, and not to mention the financial strain of having to keep up with 5 licenses, renewal dates, the fees that you have to pay, the CEU. So it is a lot. And then finally, illness. So chronic physical or mental pain and illness. pain management, being a primary caregiver for a loved one, and then also grief. And grief not only means like you lose a loved one to death, but grieving like the possibility of what your life could have been. So, if you have a disability, if you're service connected and you have a disability and you're rated as unemployable, you can't necessarily work. You can work a little bit, but there are limits as to how much money you can make. So imagine having a career field or being in a career field or a job or profession that you absolutely love, but now you're limited because of your mental or physical disability, and you're not able to make money as you once could. So you grieve that process. I think what we're seeing now is a lot of grief collectively as this pandemic has continues to rage on. So I mentioned all the good stuff about myself, but for me, I had my personal pandemic before coronavirus. And so I'm coming out of completing my doctorate degree, married, had left my VA career, left my military career. I decided to get off of active duty to follow my husband, who was active duty military, and finish my degree, get my doctorate. And just a few months after graduating, I was going through a horrible divorce. I had started a practice in New Jersey, and I was just kind of blindsided. Like, this was a huge stumbling block for me, and it just seemed to kind of go downhill from there. I'm a single mom of two boys. My youngest, who is now 5 years old, he is autistic. And so imagine, everything changing in an instant and having to um, take care of a loved one full time who has special or different needs. So it was very challenging for me. I moved back to Georgia, had a job lined up, but hey, having that professional license, I wasn't able to transfer that license immediately to Georgia. And so I was unemployed for 6+ months, could not get a job, overqualified for everything, felt like a failure. Here I am with a doctorate degree. I'm flat broke, went through my savings, barely, keeping the roof over my head. And like I said, I had a special needs son. The divorce was bitter. My son really had a hard time with not being with his dad. And I just fell into a deep depression. So here I am, therapist, trauma expert, and I'm just a mess. Like, I was broke, overweight. I was, depressed, did not want to talk or ask anyone for anything because of my pride. What happened was I, you know, I just wanted to give up. So that stumbling block, I didn't lift my feet in the beginning, and I just kept tumbling. I didn't see a way out of it. But what really happened was coronavirus, the pandemic happened, right? And I know that sounds weird for a lot of people. The pandemic has been horrific. It has affected so many people. And if you have been affected by the pandemic in one way or another, um, if you feel like sharing, definitely, raise your hand or drop a one in the chat. But I just want to show you some of these numbers of the
Before you
pandemic.
get into that, LaQuista, let me just say, and I think some people have already said in the chat already, that what you've gone through, I'm sorry to hear that you went through that. Everyone is here. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you what I've heard out of this whole thing, that no matter what happened, you finished your doctorate degree, that you didn't give up, that you kept going, that you pushed forward, and that you did not allow, no matter how much depression got to you, you did not quit. And I have to say that I am so incredibly proud of you. Just keep it moving forward. I want to encourage you. Everyone here is encouraging you. We hear it in your voice. And we want to let you know that we're here supporting you, because whether you're a veteran or not, we're all going through something similar of what you're going through, and trying to take those stumbling blocks and turn it into some sort of success. And we have already heard like 10 successes from you already through all of that you just said. Okay. So I just want to let you know, as you finish, go through your presentation, that, we understand and we support you. And if you ever need to reach out and talk to someone or need support, please do, because I'm here and we're all here. Okay.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. As a therapist, people always look to me for the answers and to be able to be there for other people. But it is so nice to know that there's a community that really support and is really inspired by the things I've gone through. Like I was saying, like with the pandemic, it has touched so many people. The next slide really shows like the numbers worldwide. I updated these numbers last night, actually. And so worldwide, we've had over 205 million cases of COVID, 4.3 million deaths worldwide. The United States, 37 million cases of COVID and 635,000 deaths. One of those deaths was my grandmother, who was like a mother to me. And that was what really pulled me out of my depression. And so it was June of last year when she contracted COVID, and I was at my lowest of my low. Um, and remember I told y'all I was broke. I mean, I was broke, like going to my kids' piggy bank, scrapping up change to go get spaghetti, the ingredients to cook spaghetti, because I knew I could make that stretch. But here I am, depressed, not even thinking. I ordered a Peloton because I'm like, I've gained all this weight. I'm going to do something. I'm going to get my health together. I ordered this Peloton and it sat there. I ordered it on credit. I know I was depressed, y'all. Like I wasn't in my right mind. I have a doctorate, but I'm not thinking clearly. I ordered this $2,000 exercise bike and it sat there for months and I rode it one time. But when my grandmother passed, I said, you know what? Let me pull myself up out of this, because life is too short. People around me were getting sick left and right. And, on the business side, remember I had my business in New Jersey, and this was before, clients were kind of not really into telehealth. And so I was actually flying back to New Jersey every other week to see clients until COVID shut that down. So wasn't able to make any money. But it was like someone turned the switch on and they started coming to telehealth. Like in one day, I got like 30 emails within an hour of people wanting therapy. And I was grateful for it and I was thankful. So I was working, trying to figure out this telehealth thing. I wasn't necessarily set up for success at that time, but I had to get ready real quick. I started working out. It made me feel good. I started, documenting my journey. So I would get on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and I would just ride my bike. And the amount of people who reached out to me, who inboxed me, who was asking, what are you doing? You look amazing. Like, you're such an inspiration. Like, it was motivation for me, but also for them. So I'll get a little bit more into the ins and outs of that. But the pandemic really did save me. And so I want to teach you how, going back to, I don't remember who said it, but like your perspective when you encounter these stumbling blocks. Like, what is your outlook? What is your perspective when you come up against these challenges? Because trust me, they're going to keep coming. It doesn't look like COVID is going anywhere for a while. And with that, creates a whole new breed of problems and challenges and things you just have to figure out. You all have it in you. It's just how do you tap into that? And so, what I noticed as my business started to pick up in therapy was, again, like Ms. Ann was saying, that we all are experiencing this pandemic. We've all been touched by it, and people were exhibiting signs of trauma. They were coming to therapy not really knowing what was going on. They just was depressed. Like people, it was Netflix for days, not getting up, like just not showering. They were experiencing something they, for many of them, had not ever really experienced, or maybe never really took the time to acknowledge before. So surprisingly, people who were already like connected to a mental health professional or were involved in therapy before, they were doing actually well when the pandemic hit, because they had the effective coping skills to deal with the anxiety, to deal with the depression. But for these busy professionals out here and people who, are always on the go, 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 they didn't know how to sit with themselves and really be present what was going on with them. And so I talk about fight, flight, and freeze, and I'm sure you've heard of this. So this is like the body's natural response to danger, and it causes like hormonal and physiological changes like in our body. And it's not always in response to big T trauma. When I say big T trauma, those are like the things that you think of as like truly traumatic. Going to war, a horrific car accident, a sexual assault. But we're seeing, people having this response to, things that you wouldn't traditionally consider a trauma. For many people, going through this pandemic has been traumatic, whether they lost a loved one or not. The fear of possibly getting sick. Just imagine when everything really shut down. It was scary for all of us. We didn't know. Like the news cycle was 24/7. I don't know if you remember when we would have news conferences and the president interrupting all throughout the day. It was just so much. And so when your body is in this heightened state of alert, it's there to protect you, to get you out of danger, to help you, fight your way out of danger, run away from danger, or you just kind of freeze up. But that's supposed to be temporary. We're not supposed to be at that high level of alert at all times. And what we saw was people were always on alert, always anxious, always worried, didn't really know what to do. And so a lot of them did seek therapy, and really grateful for that. But unfortunately, there are a lack of therapists out there to meet that demand. And I don't think we have really seen the true mental health impact that this pandemic has had on us as a whole, and especially our youth and our children, because they're really struggling. And so, connecting to, some type of support, professional help, if you are experiencing these things, because when you're going through depression, when you're going through a trauma, you're not thinking about your business plan. You're not thinking about, whatever it is. You're not thinking about getting on a video conference, or you're in the Zoom. If you're working from home and you have like a job, you're in the Zoom, but you're kind of zoned out. Half of the people are Zooming from the bed with the camera. Hopefully they remember to turn the cameras off or to dress appropriately. We all, had to learn like some of that on camera etiquette and video conferencing etiquette along the way, but it became like a chore. So just wanted to remind you, like, if you are experiencing any of these things, if you need someone to talk to, reach out to a professional. If you cannot afford like a therapist, there are many different programs out here. You can also talk to someone you trust. Talk to, if you have like like a friend that you trust, a business partner. Sometimes just talking, to someone may help, and they may refer you to different resources. The VA I know has different resources, but there's so many organizations to help, particularly with BIPOC populations, to get that mental health to you all. And there is no shame. So we are trying to eliminate that stigma surrounding mental health, but um, take care of yourselves first, because you cannot show up in your business, you cannot show up in your job, you cannot take these challenges on unless you are truly well. So that's just a friendly reminder to make sure you are well so that you can show up and accomplish all the great things that you are destined to do. All right. And so after you have identified that you may need some help, or you may be struggling, or just acknowledging that, it's like a reset. So you've identified the challenge. What do you do next? You get the help that you need, and you start to strategize, and we will be talking about what those steps actually look like. And so, how do you implement these plans to crush your goals? So, one, you want to identify what you have control of and let go of everything else. This has been one of the hardest lessons to teach during this pandemic. It can be like a little dot. This is what you have control of. All of this other stuff, you have no control over it. So why are you worried about it? Why are you stressed about it? Why are you wasting your time and your energy and your brilliance worrying about all of the things that are outside of your control? So focus on what you can control, let everything go. And that doesn't mean completely like disregard it, but the only thing you can control on the other end is your reaction to it. So you want to be prepared. All right. And so once you identify your challenge, list as many solutions to your challenge or challenges that you can think of. I am a list person. And so if I were to switch my camera around and you see my office, I have notebooks everywhere. I'm like the notebook journal queen. Like, I have them everywhere. I give them to my clients when they would come in my physical office when I actually had one. And I even mail them out because I think it's so important to write things down. Some people do the digital in their notes or their iPads or, tablets, but I like to write things out. I think it helps me remember, and I like to go back and look at it. So when I think of a problem that I have or challenge, I list as many solutions, as crazy and ridiculous and wild as they may be. I list them out, and I just kind of do like a brain dump. And then as you kind of go through that list and you're thinking about how you are going to solve your challenge, also think of ways this can benefit others, other people just like you, or people in your niche, people of a larger community, because this is going to be the thing that is going to be like your ticket to success. Because if it works with you, and you can duplicate that, and people can find the value and benefit in that, they are going to want to get that solution from you. Okay. And it's also important to document your journey. And so when I mentioned that, I was riding my Peloton, I was getting in shape, I was doing like fun videos, and people were reaching out to me, that was giving me credibility. That was my social proof. That was my testimonial. And so when I later decided to launch my wellness and fitness brand, people already knew me from, okay, she gets up at 6 o'clock every morning. She's riding that bike. People reach out to me all the time for recommendations on, the Peloton or the latest exercise gear. I actually turned my spare room into like a workout room because we couldn't go into the gyms. And so people were looking at me as like I'm an expert. I didn't claim to be an expert. You know, I'm not like a bodybuilder. I'm not a personal trainer. I was just a real person who used that, documented that, you know, and that was my testimony. And so people kind of trusted my opinion when it came time to buy into my products and services. Number 5 is investing in yourself in areas that you have little to no experience in. And this is something that, you know, I understand, you know, everybody is at a different level on their journey. And so you may not have thousands of dollars or $10,000 to join a mastermind or to hire a business coach. But most of these business coaches, they have like their freebies or their introductory offers. They're giving out all this information on, you know, on social. You can sign up, join their mailing list, get some of that information, you know, see what best benefits you, and then invest in that. If you are lucky enough to be able to get, you know, some of the PPP money or EDIL, use some of that money to invest in yourself, whether that is continuing education, training, or, you know, products and services. And like Ms. Ann said, the equipment you need to be better, to get better contracts, to get better speaking engagements, to get whatever. Make sure you're doing that. Do not be stingy when it comes to yourself and investing in yourself, because the profit that you're going to make, the benefit is going to be well worth it. And then finally, just start. I have to remind myself of this all the time. Just start. I'm the type that I want things to be so perfect that it almost paralyzes me from even starting. I always think of that movie, Failure to Launch. When it comes to my wellness box, I had this idea for years, and couldn't get it right, wasn't perfect. And I just had to launch it. And sometimes, you know, while you're trying to be perfect, you miss out on the opportunity to see and learn the lessons that you're going to learn along the way. And so my launch wasn't perfect. I didn't have you know, a 6-figure launch like many of these business coaches or, you know, these companies have, or these small entrepreneurs have, but I've learned so many lessons along the way, and then I'm able to tweak and implement that and to make it better, if that makes sense. All right. And so this is just like a graph of kind of what I just went over. And so if you see on the left here, that's your comfortable zone. And then you also have things that are dangerously uncomfortable. That's like you have no idea, it frightens you, you're kind of in that freeze moment. But where they kind of meet and intersect, that is the healthy, uncomfortable zone that you want to be in. And this is where growth is going to happen. And so for me, my bread and butter was helping women through therapy, whether it was trauma, whether it was just being a, you know, listening ear. But entrepreneurship, I didn't know any of that. They didn't teach me that in school. They taught me how to be a therapist. They taught me about theory, but they didn't teach me how to run a business or how to be successful. But when I combined the two, like how can I help women on a grander scale and not necessarily be in the seat as an individual and have to do therapy with, you know, a limited amount of women, and combine entrepreneurship? Let me launch my subscription box. And that has been like my jam. That's like my jam, my Well and Fit Living subscription box. I'm able to help more people in scale, if that makes sense. All right. And then finally, you want to always remember self-care and maintenance. So I always put in self-care. My box is a self-care box. And so, because it is that important, particularly for women, we are always putting ourselves last. We're always taking care of everyone else. And so, self care is more than just spa days and yoga and meditation. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries is something that I teach and I preach. Something that is going to help you in your both your personal and your professional lives. So, learning to say no to things that do not serve you. Um, Weighing the options. Is this if this is worth my energy? Do I want to do this? Just because it's my mom or my cousin or even my spouse asking me to do X, Y, and Z, am I obligated to do that? Is it okay to say no? And I'm telling you, yes, it is okay to say no to things that you want to say no to. And no can be a complete sentence. You don't have to give an explanation to those you don't want to give an explanation to. You have to figure out if this is a good fit for you. And that should be with anything that you do and that you approach. And so you want to check in with yourself and see how you're doing. So every day isn't going to be a great day, a happy day. So I encourage people to take 10, 15 minutes in the morning before everyone gets up, or in the evenings, or whenever you can find time and space, and just make sure you're okay, that you're good. I know, you may see like a colleague or a friend in the hallway, and you're like, "How you doing?" And people, "Oh, I'm fine," but are you really fine? Like, we're just automatically saying things. I know we don't have that same connection that we had before. It's all virtual. So maybe reaching out to people, checking in on them so they can check in on you. And so, if at all fails, seek professional help if needed, and always talk to those you trust. You should have people around you that you trust, whether again it's family, clergy, business partners, colleagues, whatever. You should surround yourself with people that you absolutely trust. You don't necessarily have to tell them all your business, but you should feel comfortable enough that you can be vulnerable at certain times. All right. Any questions at this point?
Well, I have to say, this has really been enlightening. It is very hard sometimes to talk about this type of subject, when it comes to depression, but it's real. It's not just veterans, it's everyone, and I really appreciate, and I think we all do, how you were brave enough to talk about your story, to share with us what you personally went through and how you used those times where you felt like you were at your low as a stepping stone. And I think we all are probably going to reflect on that as we move through life and figure out what our stepping stones and our stumbling blocks are. And I just really want to thank you for the presentation you gave today. It definitely gave me a lot, and we all need to make sure that we are really okay. It's tough, right? And I would just want to say thank you, and I'm pretty sure other people will feel the same. If anyone have any questions or want to just make any comments, please do take yourself off mute and let her know. This has been a very powerful presentation.
Thank you all. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for being here this morning, this Thursday morning, throughout the whole week. I know there have been like some amazing presentations. I hope you all stay throughout the day. And I would love to stay connected with you. Like, you can always like shoot me an email or, an inbox. My information is on this flyer. So please, again, reach out and stay in touch.
Absolutely. So next up, we're going to be having a special business panel discussion moderated by Kevin Wayne Johnson, and we have some refamiliars from yesterday, and we have Chris on here. We have Ken back. We also have the other Ken and Thomas. And, we're really going to be talking about the influence of just leadership in understanding how these group of men who are experts in their field, how they can help you understand different areas of your business. So what we're going to do is we're going to take just a few minutes and start right at 11:25. And Kevin, you can share your screen when you're ready. And please, if you have any questions, this is a small, intimate group. Feel free to raise your hand and ask a question. We would love to hear your thoughts. And we're going to come back at 11:25. Thank you. Okay, how time flies when you're trying to have fun, right? Okay, so thank you all again for hanging in there. You guys are a trooper, and we're going to get started with our special business panel moderated by Kevin Wayne Johnson. Kevin, if you want to share your screen to kick off this segment, feel free to do so at this time. And you guys in the business section want to be asking you some questions.
All right.
I'm excited.
Well, thank you, Ann.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much, and the great work that you're doing. I've been following and tracking where I can. Happens to be a very busy week, but it's all good. Listen, the screen share is still disabled, but don't worry about it. I'm going to dive right in. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Kevin Wayne Johnson. I have known Ann now for a few years, and I am totally, and no doubt about it, and unequivocally glad we met, because she's doing some good work, just as professional as she can be.
Well, thank you so much. And the screen share is enabled for you. So thank you so much. And I've known him for a while, and I'm telling you, this man is everywhere. He's an award-winning everything. Okay. Let me tell you.
It's all good.
That's right.
We're in this together, and we love what we do, and that's why we're here.
Absolutely.
I am based in Howard County, Maryland, and Clarksville, Maryland, and I am retired from the federal government after 34 years of total service. It was a great career. I had lots of champions and lots of sponsors in my corner. And so in order to give back and in order to contribute to the success of the current and next generation of leaders, once I retired, I stood up the Johnson Leadership Group, where I serve as the chief visionary and the chief executive officer, pouring into the lives of the next generation of leaders by way of leadership development training, mentoring, coaching, and also some public speaking as well on the topic of leadership. And the purpose of this particular panel and this discussion that we're about to have is to really encourage, motivate, educate, heighten the level of awareness, but equally important to encourage you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a personal, as a professional, as you go through your life and your leadership journey, to get some insights from these gentlemen who are going to be part of this panel. And we're going to share some good information. So it's a special business track where we're going to hear from Mr. Chris Jordan, who represents Team CNE. We're going to hear from Mr. Thomas Ellis, who represents EWC Consultants. We're going to hear from Mr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. He's going to talk to us about branding. And we're going to hear from Ken Olazi in the financial and capital space. And if he happens to join us, we'll also be joined. There he is. Ken Clark will be sharing with us information around insurance. All of these topics are very key. They're very vital. They're very important for us to know, but equally important for us to apply, implement, execute in our success. What I do with the Johnson Leadership Group is really prepare, first of all, my sons, who are now 23, 24, and 25, just equipping them with information and then being a top cover to help walk them through the process. Because you will not hear any of us say that the journey is easy. But as you navigate the roads of life and the roads of business, you will find out when you hear from these distinguished gentlemen that it's definitely doable. When you hear from Ann, it's doable because people are doing it, but it's not easy. And so we won't tell you that it's easy, but it's definitely doable. And one of the key things I would like for you to take away from our time together is really to just be inspired, take the strategies, principles, nuggets, tips, and all of the other tools that you can add to your toolbox, put them to work, and use us as a resource as you go forward. Because we haven't gotten to where we have gotten to on our own. We understand that this is not an island, but together we're stronger. And then team, because we're all part of a team, means together everyone achieves more. So on that note, I am going to go ahead and open it up. Gentlemen, let's start with you, Chris. Just a very brief introduction, Chris, to who you are, and then dive into the very first question. And the first question is this: how does a business owner keep their team and themselves motivated?
I'll probably ask for that again just to refresh it. But hey, everyone, I'm right with Kevin here. I love Ann, love what the Veteran BizUp is about, and super stoked to be a part of it again. So thank you, Ann, and everybody here. I just want to honor you and the opportunity to be able to speak into everybody's life here. I am Chris Jordan. I do have a business called Team C&E. It's right along lines with Kevin, doing a lot of leadership, consulting, training, speaking, and those kind of things, to where we're just trying to help people understand their potential and to live it out, right? Not just recognize, oh, wow, I have potential, but what can I do to take action on that potential and actually make it manifest so that others around me can feel the impact of the gifts that I have, right? Gifts are useless if we don't use them. And so that's kind of who I am, where I come from. I am a retired Air Force, not retired, I'm sorry. I've had a couple of careers. I was in the Air Force about 12 years, and I was law enforcement for another 10. So I kind of consider myself retired because I've done 22 years of public service and now do our own business. Our big call to fame right now is fostering. We have a sibling group of 6 foster kids in our home. And as we go through this journey, like Kevin said, that isn't easy. The fostering world has definitely given me a brand new perspective on leadership and team building specifically. So go ahead with that question one more time so I can go ahead and lead into it from there.
Yeah, Chris, so you as a business owner, as well as your team, how do you keep yourself and them motivated?
Yeah, awesome. So I know Kevin just said team stood for something together.
Everyone achieves more.
Right. And so I say training, equipping, and motivating. So as a team, we have a responsibility to equip each other, not just ourselves, but definitely each other. And as leaders, our job is not to just have all the answers, right? We're leading the charge, but ultimately it's our team, it's our group of people coming together, and they have to be equipped and empowered to take action, delegated the authority that we have to be able to do that. So they've got to be equipping of themselves and each other. That's the training part, right? And then when we talk about what does that do? What does equipping and training do? Well, it empowers us. It empowers us to take action. Now I have the tools in my belt to do something actionable, to actually create a result, right? And when we do that together, when Leroy does something and it affects the team positively, we all celebrate that, right?
Absolutely.
And vice versa. If something goes wrong, then we all got to come together and say, what happened? We're not going to throw Leroy under the bus because he made a mistake. We're going to come together and say, okay, where did we mess up on this as a team? How do we together bring this to the next level? How do we recover from this and step up and move forward, not let this kill us? And then the last part, motivation. I think that just comes through what I just said. Supporting each other, having each other's back, knowing that we're all in this together, doing the best that we know how, and that we're here to support with our gifts and talents the whole vision, the whole mission to be completed at the utmost of our ability at any given moment. So I hope that answers that.
Yep, it sure does. And then some. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Ken, come on in, sir. Ken Clark is here with us from Peak Financial. Ken, just very briefly introduce yourself, and then here's the question that I have for you to ponder and to share with us. What are you finding in terms of the funding opportunities? What funding opportunities are most common in your opinion?
Well, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. So again, I'm Ken Clark, I'm a financial advisor with Peak Financial Wealth Management Group. We're located in downtown Silver Spring. We assist individuals, families, and small businesses with their insurance and investment needs. Our goal is to make sure that our clients can reduce their stress by putting their financial challenges on our shoulders, and we can hold their hand, work with them to make sure that they can achieve their goals. So with response to your question, the funding opportunities, interesting, we as a panel touched on this Monday. And so for those of you who were on that segment of the seminar, Small Business Association, there's grants, lending opportunities that are available, and who may be speaking right after me, he is well versed in that arena. And for those folks who may have challenges, whether it's their businesses in the infancy stages or perhaps some credit challenges, there's always, I'll call it perhaps the last resort is utilizing any retirement funds that you may have, taking a loan from that, or perhaps a distribution from that. Again, that would be the last source, but all of us can help kind of walk you through that path.
All right, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Ken. Thank you so much. Mr. Thomas Ellis, EWC Consultants. Come on in and introduce yourself, sir, and then I'll ask you the question.
Good afternoon, no, good morning, good afternoon somewhere. I'm Thomas Ellis, Chief Sales Officer of EWC Consultants. I work with business owners to help them, teach them, coach them, motivate them, encourage them on a simple and easy sales process to help them close those big deals.
Excellent, excellent. And to that end, Thomas, as it relates to sales, how do we create our own sales process? Walk us through that.
That is an excellent question, Kevin. So, we want to keep everything very simple, right? So the first thing is we need to have prospects, right? We need to find out, okay, so I have this awesome product. Who am I going to talk to about this product? So we make a list of people that we're going to target. So the first step is prospects, right? The second step is getting appointments with the prospects, right? So we can share with them how we can help them solve their business problem. The third thing is, now that I understand what you're really trying to accomplish, let me come back with a solution to the problem that we discuss. So that'd be the third step. And the fourth step is the easiest step of them all if you've done the first three right, and that is closing the deal. And that's a very easy process that most people can follow. They can jot down on a piece of paper, make an Excel spreadsheet, and get moving.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. Leroy McKenzie Jr., branding. Introduce yourself to us, Leroy, and here's the question for you. From your perspective, why is branding important?
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world and watching this. I do want to echo the words of Chris and everyone else. Thank you, Ann, for putting on this conference. Again, stellar. We appreciate you bringing this knowledge, information, resources to all of us and to those that are watching. My name is Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder. I am the president and CEO of JNF Enterprises, and we are a business consulting and book publishing firm here in Baltimore, Maryland. And what we do simply is we assist individuals and organizations to bring their visions to reality. And we do that through entrepreneurship, and we also do that through book consulting, book publishing as well. To your question, why is branding important? Branding is important because it's the way that you convey to your potential customers and clients your mission, your message, your movement or motivation, which is what I call the way that you actually engage with someone, how they will relate to you. They're going to relate to you through that branding system that you may have, or that branding that you do throughout how you put it out there, depending on how you put it out there.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Leroy. And Ken Olazi, good morning to you, Greenwood Capital Advisors. Ken, introduce yourself. And then my question that I have for you is, what services do you offer for veterans?
Great. Well, thank you, Kevin. Again, my name is Ken Alazier with Greenwood Capital Advisors. And my background is I came from Wall Street. I've been in the financial services field for a little over 20 years. And early in my career, I worked at Wall Street firms like Lehman Brothers and Morgan Stanley. And one of the things that I noticed was that when these large companies who were my clients needed capital, they didn't walk into a bank and fill out an application and hope to be approved. They actually had a team that they consulted outside of their firm. Maybe it was at Goldman Sachs or Lehman Brothers or Morgan. The team took stock of the company, strengths, weaknesses, put a strategy together, and then they'd go out and execute that strategy to get the capital for that particular business. And some of my clients were actually banks. And so banks who were in the business of lending capital to businesses, when they needed capital for themselves, they had a team to help them with that. They didn't go about that alone. And one of the things that I find ironic is that all these small businesses are kind of going alone through that process and navigating that alone. And it's very, very difficult to do that in this environment and run your business. So Greenwood Capital Advisors, what we do is we are essentially debt capital markets. We are that advisor for what we call middle market companies. Most of our clients are, I'd say, 5 to 20 million in revenue and up, but we do have a lot of great programs for small businesses. Where we can, we use financial technology to optimize and speed up the process. We have, for smaller businesses, we have SBA programs and other business line of credit programs as well. For veterans, what we're typically doing is we're typically going through an SBA program. So there's a program called Veterans Advantage that's geared towards those who have served. And so there are multiple benefits in going through a program, like lower origination fees and things like that. So that's typically where we're working with specifically programs that are geared towards veterans, is usually through an SBA sponsored program.
All right, excellent, Ken. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Chris, back to you as it relates to leadership. What is the best advice that you can give to a business owner regarding leadership?
You'll like this, Kevin. It's one of my favorite trainings, and I would just tell them it's time to get real. I think you know exactly where I'm going with this. John Maxwell has a book out there, How to Be a Real Success. And the REAL stands for a bunch of things. And so if you really want to have impact, and you're starting out by yourself, you have a small team, you got to get real with yourself and with the team that you do have. So one, that's relationships. You know, what are your relationships looking like? Who do you have in your circle? Who has you in their circle? Is it beneficial? Is it moving the vision forward, right? The second part we talked about earlier, it's equipping. You know, what are you doing for yourself to train yourself, to learn more, to grow? And then what are you doing for your team to help them do the same thing? The third word is attitude. And that one's huge. How many of us have said stuff like this to our kids if you have them? Attitude is everything, right? If you have a good attitude, good things happen. You have a bad attitude, bad things are going to happen. And you can still have a good attitude even when bad things do happen. And so your attitude, not just with the situation, your team, or with your business, but with yourself. Do you see yourself as a business leader? Do you see yourself as a successful entrepreneur? How do you see yourself? What's your attitude with yourself? So that's something you got to look at. And then obviously the last part, L, is leadership. And as you know, it's one word: influence. How are you being influenced, and who are you influencing? And when you put all that kind of together, it kind of gives you the idea of who you really are, what your business is really about, and what direction you're going, and if it's going to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. As you were talking, Chris, you know, how to be a real success when it comes to that A for attitude. I always look at that glass that's half filled with water, because even though it is half empty, we see it as being half full. That's just the attitude you have to have as a business owner, so you can get beyond those no's and ultimately get to the yes.
Yeah.
And then in terms of leadership,
Yeah, take that to
in-
the next level, Kevin. I'm sorry, but not even positive or negative, but let's just fill it up.
oh,
Like,
okay.
why are we identifying it, like, right? So a lot of
Yeah.
times, let's think outside the box. Well, why does there have to be a box? Let's just get past the whole paradigm of any limitation whatsoever and realize that we're unlimited if we choose to. And that attitude is everything in there.
Absolutely. That's good motivation. I like it, Chris. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Ken Clark, Peak Financial, as it relates to insurance, what is the best advice that you would give a business owner as it relates to insurance?
Sure. So I guess you need to kind of separate, business-related insurance from personal insurance. But from a business standpoint, of course, it's about covering your behind, right? And so insurance in any form or fashion takes care of the what ifs. And we want to make sure that depending on the industry you're in, depending on the type of clientele, that you have the right insurance to cover your behind. Generally, for most folks, be general liability. And I'm not going to walk through all types of insurance by any stretch, but just understanding day one before I open, what do I need to have in place? As I grow the business, as I expand the business, what additional insurance should I add to the mix? And then as I'm thriving, as I'm being successful, are there any ways to utilize insurance so that I can perhaps assist in my retirement planning and things of that nature?
Excellent. So it's a process. And that's why they need to call Ken to get the expert advice on what to do and how to do it. I was just talking to my wife this morning. We're looking at potentially doing a refi here at the house, and we were having a conversation about what the current interest rate is and the interest rate that they're offering. But I told her, equally important, we're looking at the entire process. We also have to take a look at the number of years that they're offering as well, because that has a lot to do. Yeah, it has a lot to do with the overarching, not just the payment, but how much we're actually biting into the principal to bring that balance down. So that's what you reminded me of when you said that, Ken. So thanks so much. All right, Thomas, I want to sort of piggyback on your initial response to the first question, because it really got my juices flowing. And the follow-up question is, from your perspective, Thomas, what is the secret or secrets in finding our ideal client or customer?
That is an excellent question. That one of the first things when I'm talking to the new clients is, I asked them, who is your ideal client, right? And many of them say, well, I was talking to an IT company years ago who fixes laptops and things. And I asked him the question, and he said, anybody that has a laptop. And I said, wow, so you're a small business and you can service anybody that has a laptop. I said, well, let's narrow that down into what specific industries or verticals, company size, that you can do a great job with, because you're a small business and you can't service everybody that walks through the door. So the first thing I tell people is, let's find your sweet spot. Where do you play best where nobody else plays best? What problems do you solve better than anybody else? Okay. And can you demonstrate that? So once we identify the problem that we solve, the next thing is to look at, and I like to use the word verticals, like hospitality, construction, finance. What verticals, government, what verticals that you can go after that makes sense, that when you talk to them about this, the ears perk up and you get a conversation. And so when we do that, now that is what I call finding your sweet spot, okay? Knowing who you can service and who you can't service, and then focus in on that market and become an expert in that market. So when they think about the service that you provide in that market, your name consistently comes up as somebody they should have a conversation with.
Awesome. Awesome. I like that advice. And I've actually applied that, and it's true. It does work. Absolutely. Leroy, in your humble opinion, how likely is the success of a business that makes a conscious choice not to brand itself?
A conscious choice not to brand their business.
They think it costs too much money. They don't think it's necessary. It's a waste of time. I'm doing business development. I have clients to attend to. I don't have time for this branding stuff. What's your thought about that?
I laugh because you just took the words right out of my mouth when I first talked to my branding consultant. When I talked to her, I was like, I don't have time to do this. You want me to go ahead? I don't have time for it. But here's what I say about that. Not every business may need to do branding. And what I mean by that is being able to actively use some of the tools that are out there to be able to brand, whether it's social media, advertising in newspapers or magazines and anything like that. It's not meant for, it doesn't have to have everyone in it. And you can be successful with it, not using branding, but I wouldn't suggest not using it. It can't hurt you to use it, as opposed to hurt you not to use it. I'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I put it that way to them. So I think they can, but I would tell them not to use the excuse that you don't have time for it, because you make time for what you make a priority. Now, branding may not be a priority to you, but it does not mean that you don't have to do it. And you could hurt yourself by not branding, because what happens is you're not exposing yourself to potential clients and customers that you could have if you used if you used branding as a way to be able to gain what we've been talking about here, gaining those customers, as Brother Thomas was saying, gaining that ideal customer. If you're not branding, if you're not putting your business out there to let people know who you are, what you do, your mission, your message, and everything like that, then they may never know about you. You could have the greatest product or service that there is, but if you aren't actively and consistently putting it out there so that people know about it, then the chances of you being successful are lowered significantly, to me. So I would put it to them that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Leroy. You know, as you were speaking, it always reminds me of a principle that I've applied to my life going back many, many years. And that is, it's always better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than it is to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Absolutely.
And it just kind of reminded me of that. Just always be on your guard and just be ready, because you never know when a customer, a client, or a stakeholder needs your services or your product. And if you're not prepared and you miss the opportunity, guess what?
Exactly.
Shame on us, right? Shame on us.
Success.
Yeah,
is
Kevin,
plus opportunity.
Yeah, it's just pretty much like I said earlier, when we talked about building a niche and having an online presence, is that, you're reaching people who you otherwise would never have met. And opportunities and magic happens in your business when you do use your brand to reach those people. People identify with those things. We grew up knowing about these things. We are literally brainwashed to have brands. So not choosing the brand is all, like Leroy said, it all depends on the company and what they choose to do. But when you do have that brand, you need to really beef that thing up as much as possible to show what you're about. Excellent question.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Ken, Greenwood Capital Advisors, come on in. So Ken, from your perspective, let's kind of piggyback on your initial answer and think about this for a minute. What are, in your view, the top 5 things that a business owner should keep in mind when budget planning? The top 5.
When budget planning for your company, well, some of the things you want to keep in mind is number one, I think I see most common is a business owner that wants to do everything now and says, hey, I need $1 million so I can do this, do this, do this. And it's okay to, and maybe even necessary to prioritize, what's most urgent to do now in my business, what can wait 3 months, what can wait 6 months, and what can wait, a year or even 3 years. So really prioritizing and retaining, going to my next point, retaining that focus, number two, so that you're not all over the place, because I've seen instances where maybe a business owner is fortunate enough to get the funding that they're looking for to fund their business initiatives. So then they try to take on everything simultaneously and they lose focus. So it's really, really important to retain that focus while you budget, so that, and then to factor in, number three, some margin for things going over budget, for expenses that you don't even foresee. So in other words, if you're budgeting for 300,000, don't spend 300,000. Find a way to do it for 250, so that there's some margin in there for things that you're not expecting. And I'd say the last thing is definitely, or number four, have a team. Most people running a business aren't also finance people, aren't also accountants, with the exception of people running, say, a CPA firm or something like that. But make sure to consult people. Entrepreneurs tend to be visionaries. But when it comes to budgeting, execution, those types of things, it definitely helps to have someone to do a sanity check to make sure that this budget makes sense, that this is feasible, it's attainable, and that the costs in here, or the projected costs, definitely make sense for what you're trying to do. And maybe the last one is to receive more than one quote for the items in your budget, just to make sure that you're getting the best deal. Make sure that whatever you're budgeting for, it's for things that are important to you, and you don't get caught up in some service provider adding in other items so that they can build a larger ticket, but maybe they're adding in services that aren't a strategic priority for your business. So again, I mean, that sort of touches on focus, but taking ownership of that process of budgeting as an entrepreneur, but then having a team in place to make sure you have the proper support on execution.
All right, excellent, Ken. Let me go back to the point that you made very briefly. You mean to tell me that you have clients out there that budget for 300,000 and they spend it all? Is that what you're saying?
Well, not my clients, of course, but clients that I've heard of.
Okay.
But sometimes people, you inherently have to be somewhat of an optimist to launch a company, right? After hearing all the statistics and the failure rate and all of that, to still do it takes a certain amount of optimism and fearlessness. And sometimes that gets carried over into budgeting. And so, as entrepreneurs, we believe in our companies, we believe in our businesses. And I've seen people be overly optimistic about where their business is going as far as revenue. So what that ends up translating into is being overly optimistic with regards to what they're spending towards their business and their budget. And so, so the planning is so important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ken. You broke it down for us beautifully, because generally speaking, it's going to cost more than we anticipate. That's just the nature of the business. All right, Chris, let's go back to you on the leadership piece. Thank you for that, how to be a real success and how you broke that down. What is the one behavior or trait, Chris, that you've seen derail a business or a career?
Integrity. I think just bottom line is, not just even, lying to other people or being deceptive to other people, but to yourself. Kind of what Ken was talking about, like being focused and not forgetting why you're doing what you're doing. I think sometimes we get distracted by shiny object syndrome, the squirrel, and next thing you know, 5-10 years down the road, we're wondering what we're doing and how we got where we're going. And you kind of lost that integrity for yourself. And so if you don't take yourself seriously and hold yourself accountable, nobody else will. And so I would see that as being one of the top reasons that businesses and even people in general and anything they do get derailed.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, because that sort of speaks to the core of who we are. It speaks to our character as men and women who own businesses. Absolutely. Ken Clark, we're asking you this question because we want everyone who's watching both now and will watch the recording to come to each of these experts to ask questions. But for an upstart company that really has no clue about anything insurance related, what would be some of the advice that you give, Ken, as it relates to insurance for a brand new business owner just starting out?
So I guess the key is to sit down with an insurance professional that you know and trust, right? And generally that comes from referrals from other business colleagues, not just doing an online search, but doing, speaking to friends and colleagues who have used someone in the past and they've used them, referred to them quite often, and they know how they do business. But in that consultation, that individual will understand what type of business you're looking to engage in, what type of clientele, what are you selling, what are you providing, what services you're providing, and then be able to craft the right solution. I look at insurance as not just providing, not just being transactional, right? Many folks, I buy this type of insurance, is transaction. You never hear from the insurance agent again, or until it's time to perhaps renew. For me, it's understanding, I do full financial planning. So for me, it's what does your cash flow look like? What does your revenue projection look like? Understanding your pro forma, if you have one structured, understanding your business plan, and then providing the right solution based on your growth. So starting off, again, you may not need all the bells and whistles in terms of policies and protection, but then as you're growing, as you're expanding, as you're bringing on employees, then it's what changes do I need to make? What do I need to add on so that I can thrive in this business, so I can keep and I can attract and retain key employees, and so also that my clients stay current clients. They don't walk out the back door, right? So those are the keys, just making sure that insurance is provided as a solution as opposed to being transactional or just a fit for that point in time.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken. And let me just pause just for a second. Again, we want to encourage everyone who's watching to please reach out and touch each and every one of these 5 gentlemen relative to the particular area that they are responsible for on this particular panel. There's years and years of expertise. These gentlemen are wonderful professionals. And they're on standby to assist, support, and advocate as you continue in your journey, because we all need experts to surround us, because we just don't know what we just don't know. So on that note, Thomas, my question for you would be then, what is the best advice that you could give a business owner regarding sales?
Wow, I have a list here that will take about 5 hours to go through. I'll just highlight a few things, right? So the number one thing is that the business owner is the chief sales officer in their company, right? Chief sales officer. They should learn how to sell their products and services before they hire anybody else. It's another salesperson. That's the first key thing. And they have to view themselves as the chief sales officer. I've worked with lots of clients who they say, well, you mean I have to go out and sell the service. I said, well, how else is it going to get sold? You know, number one. Number two, and we talked about this earlier, get help from a professional that can help and teach and coach and guide you on the best sales practices for your business, because every business sales process is different. The third thing is, I said, you know, sales, understand the sales cycle of your clients, right? Because some sales take 2 weeks, some sales takes a year. I'm working with a client right now she's frustrated because she's working with federal government agencies and Facebook, and they all said, yes, we want to move forward, but the process is slow. And we've been working on this since January. She's frustrated. I said, listen, in that space, 12 months is a normal sales cycle. So let's not get stressed out until it's 12 months. If I'm calling Joe's Pizzeria, I'm talking directly to the owner. He can write that check. The bigger the company, the more people you have to sign off on it. It takes time. Relax. The fourth thing I would say is that, you know, and I use this all the time with people. Sales is nothing more than a bunch of conversations with the same person over a period of time. That's all sales is. It's nothing more than that. I tell people the more conversations you have with that person, the more likely is that a sale is going to be done. And so that's one of my big nuggets there that I also tell people about. And the fourth thing is that you as a business owner need to operate with a sense of urgency every day. You have to go get it, right? You have to want it. You have to get where you want to say, these are the 5 people that I'm going to contact today to move that sale forward. The customer does not have the sense of urgency. You have to drive the sense of urgency. And those are just a few of my tips that I talk to about business owners.
All right, Thomas, tons of nuggets. And gentlemen, don't forget to populate your contact information in the chat so that everybody can reach out and touch. This is what it's all about. This is part of Ann's vision to bring us all together. We're all resources, one for another, to help each other out as we go forward. Leroy, from your perspective and your experience and your observations in the years that you've been doing it, give us your top tip. What's your top tip when it comes to a business owner branding their business? Your top tip.
My top tip, one, is be consistent. No matter what you do, be consistent. However you choose to brand, I shouldn't say however you choose to brand, the different manners in which you brand, because you should be using partnerships and collaborations, sponsorship. You should be using technology. You should be using your own events. You should be using other people's events. You should be using promotional things. You should be using social media. However you choose to brand, be consistent. Do it over and over and over and over and over. Did I say over again?
Yes, sir. That's very important. Repetitive, consistent, recurring, ongoing, nonstop, all the above, right?
Tiger Woods became great because he does or did what he did consistently. Serena Williams, she did what she did consistently. Or Michael Jordan, he was great, is great because he was consistent. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that hook shot, he did it and he achieved greatness with it because he was consistent at doing it. Be consistent. That would be my top tip.
All right. Excellent. Excellent, Leroy. Thank you. And Ken, Greenwood Capital Advisors. This is our last question as we wrap up this particular panel. And it has to do with what is the hardest part about fixing credit to qualify for funding? What are your thoughts on that, Ken?
Sure. The hardest part that I generally see is that for most people is that it takes time. you know, you need money for your business right now or next week. And sometimes people are coming to you with credit scores that are right at the cusp, where you can give them a little bit of guidance. But it still takes, even in those instances, if they can address those, even if they address those items right away, it still takes time for that particular company to report. So it typically takes at least a month or two before you see credit fixes reflect on your report. Now, in a more severe example where you have someone with a really low FICO, you know, let's say below 650, definitely below 600, and they have other derogatories like charge-offs, um, foreclosures, things like that, then it really takes time. Now, we have a program to actually help make businesses fundable, because that was the number one issue that we were seeing, was that a lot of small businesses weren't actually financeable. And so we have a program that can help make those businesses financeable by addressing personal credit, business credit, and then assigning a team to actually get their business funded, and funded with low cost credit, not with merchant cash advances or expensive um, types of credit. So that's one of the groups that we have at Greenwood. But and that's the thing, it just takes time. That's the most difficult part of it that I see with credit, and it's not as straightforward as people typically think it is. So some of it involves education, and for people, I always recommend that if you have a low credit score and you're trying to improve your credit, print out a full report and study it, find out what's bringing your score down, find out what's helping your score, and just start attacking those items one by one. But don't necessarily try and do it on your own. Have a team and support to help you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Ken. Well, Chris, Thomas, both Kens, and Leroy, thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time, for your expertise, for how you poured into the lives of these business owners, answered their questions. We're hopeful that they will reach out and touch and contact you. And again, I'm Kevin Johnson with the Johnson Leadership Group. And let me just leave you with this. As a business owner, I would like to encourage each and every one of you to bring energy and bring enthusiasm and inspiration to everything that you do. It's contagious, number one. Number two, always present yourself as friendly and approachable. That way you'll be a magnet, and at least you'll get a conversation. Number three, do not be discouraged when you get a no. A no is a complete sentence. That's okay. Bounce back, develop, improve, get better, and go back out there again, because that one yes can compensate for the 13 no's. But like Leroy said, you have to be persistent and you have to stick with it. Last but not least, I want to echo what Chris said. We have to be optimistic. How do you maintain your optimism? By surrounding yourself by like-minded professionals that you just heard on this panel. Reach out to Thomas, reach out to Ken, reach out to Ken, reach out to Leroy, reach out to Chris, and equally important, if not more, stay connected to Ann. These professionals, they get it, they understand, they've been in the trenches, they've been on the mountaintop, and they've been in the valley, but it's all good. I have been there too, and I'm still smiling. So my time is up.
Yeah.
I thank you for yours. Have a great rest of the day. Let's make sure that we stay in touch, stay in contact, and all the best to you in your business journey.
That's right. And don't forget to keep in touch with Kevin Wayne Johnson. Thank you. I'm going to give you the hand clap right here. If everybody can give him a hand clap. I think he did a marvelous job. You guys were definitely awesome. The information over the last few days has been, I would say, impeccable. You can't get this stuff anywhere. I want to encourage you guys to please stay tuned. Stay with the thing. We have Shelly Rollins and Rita Bruce coming up in a few minutes to amplify us and get us excited about possibilities. And then we're going to have a special financial track with M&T Bank, with Imbaloo and George Bredding, and they're going to come here and talk about mortgage lending and business lending, another scope of finance that will help you with whatever it is that you're trying to do. So we're going to take a few minutes to go ahead and let Rita and Shelly get their slides together, and we're going to start in just a few minutes. We'll give everybody a few minutes, get some water, stretch your legs, but we definitely want you to stick around. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Anne. We are so excited to be here today. This has been a wonderful conference, and just a hearty congratulations to you and all of the presenters. This has been some great stuff, and I've been taking notes myself. So just really excited for you, and just want to thank the veterans for their service and all that they do to help and protect our country. My name is Shelly Rawlings. I'm the CEO of Wellness Amped. Wellness Amped is a corporate consulting wellness company, and what we do is help mid and large size businesses create engagement programs to improve their culture. And as we've been hearing throughout this entire 3 days, culture and employee satisfaction and engagement is so critical and important. But I've spent over 25 years in the private sector, started this business, and am just so excited to serve and help businesses navigate and improve well-being of their employees. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but I want to introduce, or have her introduce herself. A colleague and dear friend of mine is here today, as you can see, and please help me welcome Rita Bruce.
Good afternoon. I'm Rita Bruce, and I am a certified health and wellness coach. I have over 25 years in business, and I've worked in the federal contracting with DOD and the civilian agencies. I also, after 25 years, went and did some professional training and development for coaching, and so that I could help groups and individuals navigate transitions. And among the groups that I work with inside the corporation CDW that I work with are veterans. We take a look, and I work corporate strategies, and we really understand the contribution, but we also understand some of the challenges that veterans might face as they move from the DOD or military space into civilian. So why don't we get started?
Yeah, let's get started. And I think you can see Rita and I are side by side today. So we're going to have a conversation as we go through our presentation. And we really want to talk about the transition and wellness of it. And so we've heard some great information, as we mentioned earlier today with all of the presenters, but we really, Rita, want to get into this transition and self-care.
Right. A lot of times what happens is we think it's just an easy thing to move from one area to another area, but recognizing that there are cultures associated with every environment we work in. And when you spend years in an environment and you have to move to a new environment, there is some adjustment, and that adjustment can bring forth with it stress. Well, oftentimes we hear people say, oh, what's the big deal? All you have to do is get organized, right?
That's what they think. And it's really not the case. It is moving from something that is very predictable and understood and common and a part of who you are. Things are innate, and you're moving to this level of unpredictability. So getting organized can look totally different because you're now taking a new journey. You're doing something new. And this can be overwhelming even to seasoned leaders. And so this causes stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we're going to talk to you about is how to navigate that, what it looks like, and what you may be mindful of as you move through it. But one of the first things that you'll need to do is to make a decision. If you're leaving the military, you're going to need to make a decision on, are you going to go to work for someone, or are you going to work for yourself? So we're going to talk about some of the things you've heard about and how they may create an area of uncertainty or stress and sometimes disability for you as you're making that. And we'll give you some tips on how to avoid those pitfalls.
Yeah. And, you know, I've heard that, and even some of the speakers spoke earlier about these programs that are in place for vets to help them with the transition. We know there's a TAPS program in place. I'm also becoming more familiar with a program called Boots to Business. And that's a program that is instilled and in place for veterans who are about to transition. And we know that the process to transition should happen 2 years before you actually leave the military. And that is encouraged, and there's a lot of people and community in place to help that process. But it is a decision point, as Rita said. What do you do when you're about to leave the military? Are you going to work for someone, or are you going to go into business for yourself? And that decision creates a lot of pieces to this puzzle that need to be figured out. And you know, as we've heard, and you can see on the slide here, my thinking of it is you're on a journey. You're on a new journey that you're not familiar with. So as you go through this decision-making tree, if you will, there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that you need to consider. Out of all of it, though, the success really comes from understanding that you are the CEO of your life.
Absolutely.
And so you are in the driver's seat to navigate how you want this to look. I think a lot of people have misconceptions that I've got to move from this place to this place, and it's methodical without understanding that you are the nucleus, you are the center of the decision tree, and you really have to make an evaluation of what makes you happy and what is best for you and your family.
Right. And when we talk about that, one of the recommendations is to choose to do something that you have a passion for.
Absolutely.
Choose to do something that gives you purposeful pursuit. That in itself will enable you to draw energy from that, and also to draw people to you that are like-minded. The other thing you want to do is you want to do your research, and you want to leverage your network. There are many, many people in your community that have come out of or gone into the military, and you want to use that. But you also want to research. You want to research the business, and you want to research the company. Pick entities that are friendly to where you've been. Be very, very specific about your skills. You can leverage, you can transfer those skills, and many, many organizations will embrace it. As you make that transfer, be very, very knowledgeable about what your limitations are. Some of you will make transitions because of physical or retirement based upon limitations. You will be disabled in some capacity. That does not mean that you are not a contributor, but really be honest about those limitations. And many companies and many businesses will embrace that and lean into it and help you fit.
And when you say do your research, let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. What does that really mean when you say do your research?
Well, one of the things, if you're in the track of being an employee, talk to other people that work for that company. Don't be afraid to ask questions. When you go to their websites, because everybody's using websites, put in keywords, put in the words of the things you want to do and see what pops up. And then after you've reached out and talked to someone that works for the company, take a look at I think it's Glassdoor. Look at what other people are saying about it in a neutral environment. And then if you know someone that does a like job, ask them what's a day in the life of that particular occupation or that particular position is. And then lastly, I would say, talk to the significant people in your life and ask them to support you in your endeavor as you go forward. Because researching your environment, it has everything to do with where you're going to work, but also pay attention to researching the support groups that you will have. And we'll talk about that a little bit, about what's really important to maintain your health and your wellness.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because this is about establishing goals. And in order to establish goals, you need to evaluate what it is you want. And you may not know all the answers up front, but you have to establish a baseline of what you want in the near term, so that when you do the research, you have a checklist to understand, does this meet what I want to accomplish now and down the road? Does this company have the value proposition that fits and feels good to me? If it doesn't, then that's a decision point for you. And so the research piece is very important, up to and including having conversations, as we talked about. The leveraging your network piece is another big one, because you can ask friends and family their opinion. You can ask them to look at this information for you and also provide input. And so you have that third party, that unbiased opinion to help you navigate and see this with clarity.
You know, Shelley, when you were talking about the network, and we heard earlier, several people talked about planning.
Yes.
A marketing plan is how you're going to go to market if you were a business, but a branding plan is how you're going to go to market yourself, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're going to present your contribution to a company. So don't overlook the fact that you need to take the time to do that. Each of these items we're talking about help you to be better prepared, which will reduce the stress that you will inevitably encounter as you're making change. But one of the other things, Shelley, we talked about earlier about an advisor.
Yes.
Talk about the advisor and what that looks like.
Yeah, this is a good one. I love this one because it's so critical, regardless of which path you take. If you want to start your own company and build your business or work for someone as an employee, you need to have, I think, an advisor who is an unbiased person or professional that can help you navigate what you're looking to accomplish. That can be a myriad of categories, from a business advisor, a financial advisor, a personal and professional development advisor. So I know a coach, you know, there's people that have multiple advisors. I do. And I know that as you navigate this process and you're looking to amplify your transition, having people in your corner that can help you see things with clarity and understand what areas you may want to lean in more that you may not even uncover and know for yourself is absolutely invaluable. And so getting an advisor and making sure that, number one, they're helping you see what you don't see. You also have the opportunity for people to help you navigate and prioritize, but more importantly, hold you accountable. That accountability piece is super important too.
And honesty.
Absolutely.
Some people will choose their pastor or a spiritual advisor to help them as they make transitions from one area to the other. And remember, when you're the CEO, it's not just about your business. You have a family, you have a community, you have lots of things that you are a part of. So when you're moving through this transition, you really want to have the best you can. And that's what wellness is all about.
That's right.
And the other thing,
Ann has a question. Let's see what Ann has.
So, I mean, you touched on the advisor, and I kind of want to bring this out a little bit or flesh it out a little bit. So throughout the whole 3 days, we're always talking about going to get a professional. So can you elaborate on where they can actually go during a transition for this specific, because it is veterans? Where can they find an advisor? Because a lot of times we say, find somebody you trust, all that. But let's talk about, like, where can they actually go and really get a good advisor or mentor or coach?
Well, I can say this, let's talk about categories. There have been several of them on the presentations over the last several days. So go to your directory is one of the first places. And Ann is just smiling over there. So, right, so that's one. But it depends on what you want that advisor to do. For example, I know folks don't believe this, but I've actually worked for the Small Business Administration. There are people there that will take extra time with vets to help them put their business plans together. They will look at if that's what you're interested in. If you're interested in someone financial, we've had sponsors that are part of this event that can be an advisor, and you provide those services and things like that. Shelley, if you're into creating the culture for your business, she can help you set the culture to get the most out of your co-workers. The other thing is, if you have the personal, I work with groups and I work with individuals that are transitioning, particularly when they have a health or wellness issue. And by the way, side note, most of the folks that I talk to come and talk with me because they've had some health issue. They're now on high blood pressure, or they got a diagnosis of diabetes, or they have to make a lifestyle change in order to be healthy, so they can arrive, they can be present in their businesses.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Let me
And
just make sure I answered Ann. Ann, did I answer your question?
You sure did. And thank you for that. I know the resource directory is one, but there are so many different places. And I guess where I was kind of drilling down to is, where in the VA could you go?
Oh, absolutely. Let me cover that.
Veterans community could you go?
Yes.
Things of that nature.
Yeah, and we have that.
We have
Let's
a
go and
resource.
talk about that too.
I'll touch on a couple of them, and at the end we have a slide, but you can always go to the VA and we have a link there for you. And there's also the Veterans Assistance. It's called Veterans Assistance Program, and it's with the SBA. And if you go to their site, you / and go Veteran Assistance Program. There are also other programs that they have. Wounded Warriors has a great program that really supports families as well as veterans. But again, we have some resources there. But as you're doing it, as you're looking for resources, it's so important to really wrap your head around there's no shame in the game of asking for help, no matter what level of help you need. And transition is difficult for anyone. Yeah. And among the top things that create stress in a person's life, any single one of these can create stress levels that change a behavior. But right now, during COVID, we have multiple activities happening. If you get married or divorced, that in and of itself. If you move, if you change jobs, if you have a child go away to college, if you have a loss, any one of those can create a physiological response that will affect your behavior. And during COVID, we have multiple of those activities happening simultaneously. So the first piece of wellness is to be aware so that you can take care of yourself. And one of the things that we have on this slide that I really want to point out is don't go it alone. I know you all know about you never leave a wounded soldier behind, but you can be the walking wounded. And I really want you to reach out to your peers, reach out to some of these resources. Don't try to do this transition alone. Okay.
And that's a great point. And to add to that, we know that we all have different home lives and our situation at home. Some of you might have spouses or partners, and some might be living alone. That isolation could be detrimental. And so going alone in a transition is definitely something that needs to be pulled out so that you can not do this alone. And so we want to call that out and make sure that as we talk about these stressors, living by yourself can be a stressor when you're going through a transition. So we want to flip that and help you manage that and see it and leverage tips and ideas and strategies that have been proven to work to get through that.
So, okay, so I've admitted that I got a problem. I'm going through, I'm retiring, and I also am retiring with some limitations in my physical, and I think I have an idea about a job. I think I'm fine. I think everything's fine. I got a plan in front of me. So what do I need to be mindful of right now?
I think number one, the keeping expectations realistic is absolutely critical. This is a transition. You are bringing in a set of behaviors and activities that are very different than what you're used to. And even though you may have had a full plate of responsibilities that you knew and were innate to you, now the game has changed a little bit. And so keeping expectations realistic is super important. And what I'll say to that is, as you assign a task, or as you receive a task or take on new goals and responsibilities, understand that it's okay to take them in bite-sized chunks. Create a plan and a strategy to keep it within a realistic realm of what your physiological and mental capacity is as well. And so being realistic about it and setting
and sensible schedules, I want to make sure you know what it looks like. It means that your day may have been fully dedicated to your service, but as you move into civilian, you may take on additional family responsibilities. There may be commuting that you didn't have before. Set realistic expectations about your time and what you can do and how you can contribute not only to your work life, but to your personal life, to your physical life, that you work in schedules for exercising, eating a healthy diet, being very balanced about your work. Don't try to take the heel with one step. So be sensible about your schedules and also recognize hidden stresses. So what is a hidden stress? When you find yourself being short with someone that's important, when you know that there is a youth involved in your work environment, and that will minimize your anxieties. So a hidden stress would be if you find yourself short, if you find you cannot sleep, that's a hidden stress. That means there's something else going on. And it may be that you have to just change your rhythm of when you prepare to go to sleep and what time you go to sleep.
And we know there's good stress and bad stress,
Absolutely.
right? So good stress, of course, is those enablers that create a positive outcome. So you might have, increased adrenaline because you're going on a job interview and you nail that job interview, it works in your favor.
Absolutely.
But there's obviously a lot of negative stress that can impact how you navigate this new journey. And one of the things that we want to make sure we say today to you is these hidden stressors are the ones that can take you down and take you out. And as you said, sleeping is one indicator, but we know chronic disease is a key entry point or exit point of stressors. You can have high blood pressure. You can see stress through your skin and different discolorations and so forth. Headaches, diabetes, there's so many impacts to stress. And so doing things to be very intentional and to allow yourself to decompress. So as you create a realistic expectation for yourself, as you're creating your own business, as you're starting a new job, creating that sensible schedule, step back and evaluate. We all know our bodies better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
So know the signs. And if you feel off, you probably are. And that's the trigger. That's that indicator that we need to pivot and do something different.
And when that happens, I'm going to encourage you to establish boundaries. Boundaries are one of the most difficult things to establish when you're fully committed in one area and you move and you have to establish new schedules. But create boundaries. If you say that you're going to put 10 hours in the workday and I'm going to be sure I'm home to put my children to bed or I'm going to have dinner with my family, create that boundary, protect it because it will keep you balanced. And then last thing, if another key indicator that there is a hidden stress is the adrenaline that you receive for a job interview is a one-time event. If you must sustain that level of adrenaline on an ongoing basis will create a break in your body. You are not designed to run at that peak 100% of the time. So something will give way. And very often, if you're a person of color, it will show up in if you're predisposed to diabetes, chronic heart disease, hypertension, that's where it will show up. So really dial it back, create the boundaries, and try to protect them, okay?
And we heard earlier from one of the speakers, her experience around post-traumatic stress disorder.
Absolutely.
So we understand from her and many others that you're coming into this carrying burden and carrying stressors before you've even transitioned based on your experience in the military. And so we want to acknowledge that. And I think it's important that you acknowledge that so it's not swept under the rug and you can just start a clean slate because it is a compound effect. And that's what's really important to recognize. So being super intentional about how you're navigating to amplify this transition is important.
Absolutely. There's a note on this slide that I really want you all to take a look at. And that note says, according to the American Institute of Stress, 85% of all medical problems may be related to stress, and they now label it the silent killer. So we've heard these things, and we know now you're aware, and you're going to be very mindful, and you're going to create balance. These are the 7 areas you want to focus on. So we talked about purposeful pursuit. When you're doing what you are passionate about, or really engaged and committed to, it reduces stress. Social connection, reach out, stay connected, don't become isolated, and then be sure you're getting enough rest. And I want to rest and relaxation is one thing, but sleep is another.
Yes.
Until you've entered 90 minutes of sleep, your body doesn't begin to do the rejuvenation. A power nap does not fully equip you to go out into the world and do battle in the civilian. So be sure that you're getting your rest.
And let's talk about, let's talk about sleep. Let's go to the next level. How do you get adequate sleep? We know, there's a stat out there that says 8 hours for adults on average, more for children. But the reality is our brains don't just naturally turn off.
Right.
We have noise upstairs. There's a lot that we're now is to prepare to sleep. I know that sounds crazy, but you need to prepare to sleep. What does that look like? Turn off social media, turn off the cell phone, put your phone on vibrate, turn off the TV. You can use apps that can create those soothing sounds and calming music and things like that. But we're talking about intentionality here. And so that's one of the takeaways that we want to impress upon you, is to be very intentional about this, because your sleep gives you clarity. It rejuvenates your body. Our bodies are machines. Right. And so they have to replenish, and you need that sleep in order to do so.
Healthy eating and nutrition. I'm not going to go on a thing there. Everybody knows about that. But during COVID, I do want you to be mindful that if you're eating out and ordering out a lot, ask the questions about how they prepare. Don't be shy. Manage your sodium content. All those things, you have a right, if you're buying, to ask. So I just encourage people to read the packages if you're having packaged food, but when you're ordering, ask them, is it high sodium? Ask them, is it GMO? If you have an allergy, ask the questions. Take care of yourself. Exercise, if you're accustomed to a routine of exercising and working out as you transition from the military into the civilian, keep part of that. But again, remember, put in realistic expectations. And then around relaxation, meditation is a wonderful thing, and it can be done at any time, in any place. Breathing is a form of bringing in oxygen and moving it through your body to allow your body to do what it's designed to do. Like Shelley said, there are many apps that can help you. I recommend it. There'll be some at the end of this presentation. They're free. We've researched, we found the free ones. Go in, use them. There are ones you can use when you're running, jogging, sitting, eating, sleeping. They're all there for you. And then finally, no matter what your belief system is, I believe everybody has a belief in something greater than themselves. Spend time, quiet time, reflecting. And I got to tell you, studies have shown that being thankful has an impact on your mind, your body, and your disposition. So those are the things I would really encourage you to do as you're thinking about the spiritual side.
I love that. And I know our company helps develop programs for businesses to help employees navigate these. And so one thing that we'd like to suggest is to take 5. We always say take 5. We build a program around take 5. What does that look like? It simply means that as you navigate your day, and those days are filled with ebbs and flows, you may have great opportunity to have success and smile and be happy, and then you may get hit over the head with some things that don't make you feel good. And so we suggest at least 3 times a day, take 5. every, 9 o'clock, you're signed on or you're starting your day. By noon, take 5. What does that mean? For 5 minutes, don't do anything but relax, reflect, and think positive thoughts. And it sounds crazy, but I'm gonna tell you it works.
I know it does.
Because you're resetting
Exactly.
yourself. You're mentally getting rid of what just happened, and you're starting a clean slate. And then you go the next 3 hours. You take 5 again. You go the next 3 hours. And so creating a practice of taking 5 is absolutely beneficial. I highly encourage it.
And I can't encourage it enough, since we all get WebEx and Zoom
Yes.
fatigued. But 5 minutes as we're putting in between each of these presentations, it's worth it. Just take the 5, relax, and it's amazing how you can be present for that next thing you have to do.
Absolutely.
So
So let's
Marie,
summarize. Yeah,
what's up?
we're almost at the end here. So we talked about a lot, and we didn't spend so much time on the business and entrepreneurial pathways because a lot of presenters covered that.
Mhm.
We really wanted to talk about how to amplify that transition, regardless of what path you take. You're on a journey. This is a successful journey for you as you've accomplished something great
So
already,
much,
even to be here. So congratulations on that. Now it's about turning the hat and assuming what that looks like, and taking that in, understanding that the shift from civilian to shift to civilian life is a change. Understand it, adapt, bring it in.
Absolutely. And then second thing is it will cause stress. It's not a bad thing. It's just you have to take control over it versus it taking control of you. And then monitor your health. Embrace the steps. We've given you some things you can do. Take advantage of it. And there are many, many, many other sources. If you find that transition, you like one-on-one or group, find a coach, work with a group. They're out there. They are available to you, and they will work specifically to help you meet your goals. And that's what really it's all about.
Yeah. And finally, please understand that you are the CEO of your life. You navigate your next step. So own it. Don't feel compelled to do something that doesn't feel good. So whatever route you take, if it's going down an entrepreneurial path or working for somebody, assess what you want, create that work-life balance, create your boundaries, create a path for short-term goals, long-term goals, and surround yourself with those people that are going to help you realize them.
And lastly, I want to say, give yourself some grace.
Absolutely.
Give yourself some grace.
Absolutely.
You can change your mind, change your direction at any time, but you have to take care of yourself. No one else will do that for you. So we'll just open it up and see if there's any questions, and we'll share some links with you. But Anne, we'll just take any questions.
I'm gonna tell you, I think everybody, and I think I can speak for everybody, how we're just so like full, our cup is full with such good information. I think the aha for me was when you talk about hidden stress, as we go throughout our day and not realizing that most of the things you're talking about is happening all around us and affecting us, and we're internalizing it, and then it comes out and manifests into other things that turn into problems, and then that amplifies the stress, and how you kind of turn that around and gave us really good tips on how we can deflate some of that stuff and amplify the positives. So I really appreciated that. Yeah, if anybody have questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute and really talk about that. And you could definitely reach out to Rita and Shelly if you feel like you need to talk to them personally about your specific situation. I highly, highly suggest that. As Rita said, there's coaches in here, there's coaches everywhere. And we could definitely do that. So, okay, so she has some links and I'll let you talk about that.
Okay. Well, while we're looking at the top ones, many of you may be aware of, but there are very specific programs inside of each of these veteran links and options. I am so into that. If you just take that 5 minutes, some of the best meditations for 2021, But then for anxiety, if you find yourself feeling that stress and being anxious, these are some good links. I'm telling you, they are worth the time.
Wonderful.
They're absolutely. And I encourage you, just go out there and try them. If you have this, and Ann, I know you have it in the resource, you can click on them, it'll take you there. There's also an excellent site. A University of California, Berkeley has something called the Greater Good Center. They have been studying human behavior and stress across the full dynamics of society, but also demographically. And they have proven scientific study about how your disposition affects your body, how the stress will show up physiologically, and how being thankful actually produces endorphins that make you happy. So this isn't just voodoo medicine. This is now proven through science. And I just encourage you. And if anybody wants to contact me or interested in the coach, hey, I'm going to say it. I am available at RitaRuth.com.
Yeah, and you know, we have these as handouts, and so our information is on there. But to Rita's point, the apps are great. I personally use them and have used many of them in some of our strategies and programming for our clients as well.
Okay, folks, we're going to be getting ready in just a few minutes. We have Mbalu Kante, and she is going to be talking about lending. We also have George Bredding here. Nice to meet you, George. And I believe I saw Andy Serene here as well from M&T Bank. Very pleased to have you guys here. And whenever you are ready, Mbalu, to share your screen and start, we are waiting for you patiently, and you can take time and do that.
Well, thank you so much for having us today. And I would like to begin really by by extending a special gratitude to Ann and Destination Achievers, Inc. For really bringing all of us together. And I'd like to also thank all the presenters before us. We are so excited, and we are happy to be one of the sponsors for this great event. So let's do a little bit of quick intros. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself for a minute. And then my colleague George, that you see on the screen, will also introduce himself for a minute. And then after the intros, I will come back and set the stage for this segment. And after setting the stage, George will go on for 15 minutes. And then after that, I will go on for another 15 minutes. And then we'll open up for questions. All right, are we good? Great. All right. So again, most of you must know me by now. I am Bulu. I am Vice President and Relationship Manager at M&T. In my role, I do manage a portfolio of businesses in Washington, D.C. and suburban Maryland. I am so excited to be here with you. In my portfolio, I manage both for business and nonprofit organizations. So I'll let George also introduce himself, and I'll get back.
Hi, my name is George Bredding. I'm a senior mortgage loan officer with M&T Bank. I do cover the Mid-Atlantic region, primarily DC, Maryland, and Virginia for M&T Bank, and service all levels of mortgage products. And it's a pleasure being here and being able to speak with everyone today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, George. All right, so I wanted to take another minute to set the stage a little bit for this segment. And with that in mind, I would love to start with the end in mind. So what are our takeaways? Some of the things George and I would like to accomplish during this segment is, number one, to help our listeners and participants understand how to buy a home or refinance an existing mortgage with added VA benefits. And we also would like to make sure we get you informed on financing options for small businesses and learn a little bit how to put a loan package together. There were a lot said during the 3 days, so we will try our best in this segment to build on that and add to it. So we would, spend a few minutes looking at a starter package and put it together. And also in the end, the last takeaways from this segment will be to really make sure you get access to resources for success. It's not about just the conference, it's also beyond the conference. So we will make sure we let you leave this conference with online portals, information in many areas of education, with checklists and flyers that will continue, and also our contact, so you can continue to build that relationship and for information that lasts way beyond this conference. So that's really what we're trying to achieve today as takeaways. All right, with that, I'm going to get started, and I'm going to set the stage a little bit and talk about MNT in a few words. So MNT is your biggest community champion. We've been around for, I would say, 165 years now, since 1856. So we've been around, and we really, really try to understand what's important to our customers. There are many banks offer similar products, same thing, but MNT will go to bat for you. MNT is definitely your biggest community champion. Our team always takes time to dig deeper into your story to make sure we make the best representation and that we advocate for you internally and externally. A little bit more about MNT. For the ones who do not know us really, you would see us in community region structure. You would see us in Western New York, Pennsylvania, in the Mid-Atlantic here. You would see us in Baltimore, Chesapeake, Delaware, Washington, D.C. And we are divided like this for a reason, because every region on this map has a regional president. That is a game changer, let me tell you, and that's one big differentiator. Each one of our regions have a regional president, which means that when it comes to making decisions on your deposit or loans, the decisions are made locally by people who are in your community, who know you. So we are structured like this for a reason. Another great thing about MNT, as I was saying, we are your biggest community champion. When it comes to SBA lending, you may have heard about us in the news. We don't just talk small business, we do it. In 2019, before COVID, we were the #1 SBA lender in Baltimore, DC, Delaware, Syracuse, New Jersey, New York, Richmond, Connecticut. And we did it again in 2020, in COVID year. And in COVID year, we were again #1 SBA 7A lender in DC, Baltimore, Delaware, Philadelphia, and in New York area. And we are the #5 top lender in the country when it comes to SBA. That is a great success story of its own, because when you look at the SBA ranking report on the SBA website, it doesn't really, it ranks really the 7A small business loans in terms of the number of loans approved, which meaning the number of people we have been able to help. So we are really, really proud of that we are able to help our community. And we are also, we have just achieved the outstanding CRA rating as of July. And you will hear why, because George will tell you some of the things he has to share will definitely affect this type of CRA rating. And we have achieved the highest CRA rating, meaning Community Reinvestment Act rating for the past 39 years. We are also very big in the community. We want our community to know that we hear you, we are present. This is just to show you, how much we show up in the community, not just in terms of $sign. You see us here today, we have about 4 people on this call, but also this chart will show you that we have been able to actually dedicate $35 million in grant funding to nonprofit organizations in 2020. So we are always in the corner trying to really help our community members and make sure we put our $signs where our heart is. So that is for a little bit about MNT. And at this point, I'd like to come back and have my colleague George, begin sharing. some of the great stuff he has for home borrowing and home refinancing with VA benefits. George, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Balu. So yes, this is for VA veteran financing for residential mortgages. Eligible borrowers are for veterans, service members, or surviving spouses can use a VA loan to finance a home. As little as 0% down is allowed with VA loans, and there's no mortgage insurance. The only loan product on the market with 0% down and no MI, in my opinion, it is the VA loan is the #1 product on the market for borrowers that are eligible for financing with it. At 80% or less of the median area income, like Blue said, we're great with CRA products. We actually have pricing available below market for people that are eligible for CRA. It's about 1/4 to 3/8% off the interest rate off of VA pricing. And also M&T does offer grant money towards closing costs, no repayment required, no minimum credit score with it. Most areas around us, excluding Montgomery County and Howard County in Maryland, is eligible for $5,000 up to $5,000. And DC is actually eligible for $7,500 towards closing costs, which is a nice boost in our area to not have to ask the seller for money towards closing costs because of the competitiveness of the home market right now. There's multiple offers, and you want a borrower to come in as strong as possible and ask for as little as possible when trying to purchase a home. With a VA loan, the minimum credit score is 620 for conforming financing, and anything above the conforming limit, it is 660 is the minimum credit score. In our area, in DC, in particular, the conforming loan limit actually does go up to $822,375 because we're a high cost area. Nationwide, it is in the 550 range, 548 and change. That's the nationwide limit. And then some counties are kind of in between DC, Montgomery County. They're at the high end at the 822. And then there's other counties that kind of fill into somewhere in between those numbers. The seller with a VA loan, they can pay up to 4% towards closing costs. With VA, traditional properties are single family homes allowed, townhomes, condos, and actually 1 to 4 unit properties. It does have to be a primary residence. It cannot be a second home or an investment property with VA financing. Also with VA, which is nice, there's no cap on the loan size that's being offered. Anything above the 822 in our area, the borrower is required to put 25% per dollar spent down, but which is still a very good deal to be able to purchase, say, $1 million property with just a little bit out of pocket to get into the home. VA does require a funding fee. It is initially 2.3% for a first-time use and 3.6% of the loan amount for a subsequent use. But veterans can be exempt from the funding fee if they are receiving disability compensation or have a disability rating of 10% plus with the VA. The VA funding fee, if it's required to be paid, can be rolled into the loan amount, which is nice. You can finance it and not have to take the money out of pocket to be able to purchase the home. A little bit about qualifying. 41% debt to income ratio is the maximum if you have to do a manual underwrite. More times than not, we can use our automated underwriting system and be able to go up to 50 to 55% in qualifying, which is good. To be able to go up to 55%, it gives people a little more leeway in being able to qualify for a home. Regarding refinances, there's a product called Earl with a VA where you pretty much just put the information on a loan application. There's no documentation that's really collected, and this goes through a quick underwriting check and it closes. So a VA to VA loan could go through the IRL process. And at M&T, you could do up to a 90% loan to value for a cash out refinance and get cash out for repairs, debt consolidation, etc. Bankruptcy, you're allowed to, with a Chapter 13, be 1 year out of bankruptcy, and with a Chapter 7, it's 2 years. So this is a general overview of VI financing. Like I said, it is a great loan product. Pretty much if I see someone's a veteran and eligible, it is the first and only loan product that I usually look at people to move forward with for their home purchase. I hope everyone got something out of this. It is, like I say, a brief overview. And if you have any more questions, my contact information should be available after the call.
George, you shared a lot of information pertaining to how veterans can get homes and have things rolled in to make it easier for them to be able to afford the home, which is also great. And definitely want to encourage folks who are in this conference and also who is going to be watching the playback to reach out to you to ask more questions about how they can qualify and have M&T help them with their mortgage needs. So I'm going to turn it back over to Imbaloo.
Wonderful. Okay, so thank you, George, for that great overview. Let's continue on to business financing with making sure we take care of our people who continue to provide the freedom we all enjoy. So at this stage, I want to share a little bit about financing opportunities for listeners on this call, but more specifically, I'd like to add that we understand how hard it is to really transition from to a civilian life, and it takes a lot to start a business. And during the 3 days, I have been in and out, but there were great information on how to start a business, how to register, and how to keep in mind the 5 C's of credit. I will not repeat those. However, I would like to build on those. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about is the financing opportunities we have for small businesses. Those financing opportunities can also be available to our veterans. So the big difference between our regular loan packaging and a VA business loan is the discharge. With any VA loan, to make sure we get you all the benefit that you may enjoy, especially through the SBA, we collect on top of our loan processing an honorable discharge paperwork. So any paperwork you have to show that you have been discharged, or any paperwork that you have that shows that you are a qualifying VA family member, we would accept that to make sure you don't miss any benefit, meaning we will ensure that you don't leave any money on the table. So those are, the big difference between our loan packaging for VA borrowers and our regular consumers. So now, what is it that you can get when you are a small business owner and you are on top of that, a veteran trying to transition in a civilian life? So I would say the first thing that I will mention before you even seek financing, please take time to establish contact with your local bank. You need a local branch manager. You need a local banker like me. You need a local financial advisor like George. Because when you establish that relationship, we know you, we can tell your story, and we can make the best representation of your case should any challenge arise. Not any 2 applications look the same. Somebody can have an 800 credit score and get declined, and somebody will get a 700 and get approved. It all depends on how much we know you and what are all the credit and risk, involvement in the credit process. So please, the first thing before you go and apply for a loan, please, establish a contact with a local banker, a local branch manager. At M&T, for example, our branch managers are small business lending specialists. They can handle a small business loan up to $250,000. I have one on this call, Winston. He'll share his information at the end of the day. But let's talk about, what Winston, for instance, can do for you when you walk into a branch. We have a basic loan funding called the Quick app. This Quick app is a game changer. We have been able to really change lives with that. The Quick app gives any business, whether owned by a veteran or non-veteran, any business that's have been around for at least 2 years, to apply for a loan up to 100,000 or a line of credit up to 100,000, and the decision is given in 1 business day. That is a game changer. So if we have, folks on this call who have been turned down elsewhere, and you have been around for at least 2 years, we have made it simple to at least begin building that business credit. So you can get up to 100,000 with us, and in as little as 1 business day. And when I say 1 business day, it is with limited paperwork, because all we ask you to fill out is an application, and we'll probably just do a site visit. That is a very simple, loan process to encourage people, and also to break the myth that we don't loan to small businesses or you're too small for a bank. M&T has understood that, as we make it in our promise that we will try to always understand what's important to our community and, of course, our small business lender. So again, stop in a local branch, make a contact, connect with a branch manager, and if you happen to be in an M&T branch, ask about the Quick application process, which will get you lending for up to 100,000 in 1 business day. So now, what if you have not been around for 2 years? You're just starting. You have just you've done some credit, counseling. You have filed your business paperwork. I enjoyed listening to Janice yesterday when she was sharing where you could go to register, get business licenses, your entity paperwork. Yeah, you will need those. So if you're starting and you have not been around for 2 years or less than 2 years, guess what? We also can help you. And in that case, especially for a veteran applicant, we will choose the SBA route. Why? Because the SBA will act as a co-signer for you. And when you're a veteran and we have verified your discharge, we can definitely make sure you get those discounts on SBA packaging fee and guarantee fees that usually are there. So I will take a minute here and walk you through a startup loan package. Again, keep in mind, Shawnee yesterday talked about the 5 C's of credit. We understand you would have gone through that. You took a lot of information yesterday. He talked about credit scoring. I will not repeat those. This will build on that. So by the time you get to the bank, you have gone through that. And if we realize that you're a veteran or there is a challenge on any of the 5 C's that Sean mentioned yesterday, this will be what we will do. So a startup here is defined as any business under 2 years. So you just started. The first thing that comes in the loan package here is the application. So the application will have a template. It's about 5 pages, very simple. And again, this is for any business that is under 2 years. We need a full application. If you're under 2 years, you would not qualify for the Quick application process I just mentioned earlier. Yeah, but under 2 years, we have to do a full-blown application. So that begins with the application. On top of the application, we will collect your entity paperwork. Of course, when you come to the bank, the same way you utilize your driver's license, your social security, we also need the birth certificate for this business you're trying to build and grow. So we will ask to see the organizational document, business licenses, articles, certificate of incorporation. And if you happen to be a sole proprietor, those business licenses that Janice mentioned yesterday from the state website will be important. So you have to have done those things that Sean and Janice mentioned yesterday. You have to have gone through those, and then you will get the result of that to a small business lending package. So with that, I hear and I heard also during this conference, so what if I don't have a tax return? The business doesn't have a tax return. There you go. Number 3, as a startup under 2 years, we understand you may or may not have filed a tax return at all for your starting business. Well, we will collect 3 years of your personal tax return. We will also ask to see a personal financial statement. We have a template for those. And we will see a business plan. The business plan in the startup package here, this is almost the equivalent of your business tax return. Since we cannot verify 3 years of business tax return because you're just starting, you're trying to transition from civilian life, well, we will take 3 years of personal tax return. But the business plan will be your lead document in this package because in the business plan, you have projections, you have the description of the business, and we don't need 100 of pages of business plan. And I always make it simple for my business owners, and the potential borrowers that come to us. As long as you cover the outline that I have here, we are good to go. I have seen business plans of 15 pages, 10 pages, and I have seen business plans of 100 pages. But as long as you cover this outline, A through G here, that's all we are asking for. I said earlier that M&T would go to bat for you, and I think I'd like to cite here Anne as my witness. When I come across a situation where you don't have a business plan, I will put my banker's hat aside and look around, find people to help you. So I will send you to expertise. I will connect with my community partners, and I will make sure, or if I see that there is a challenge with any of the C's that Sean mentioned yesterday, I will make sure I connect you to other resources so you can come back here and we can pick up exactly from where we left off. So we will always do stuff like that. So this checklist to me is a moving target. It's a guide, it's a roadmap for us to guide you clearly through achieving your financing goal. But along the way, I can pull resources from everywhere to make sure we achieve your need. So on top of the business plan, we will ask that you sign a 40560. This is a form, it's an IRS form. It just allows us to go and collect tax returns ourselves. Do we always do it? I cannot tell you when or where we'll do it, but we will have you sign it, and then we'll go and also collect our own tax record. The SBA requires that before funding. So from 1 till 6, those are really, really simple. Now from 7 till 11, those are if applicable. So if for the 2 years you happen to have filed at least 1 year of tax return, fine, we'll take it. If it's not available, no problem. We'll stick with the 3 years on line 3. If you have any year-to-date financial statement prepared by a CPA, we'll take it. But it's not mandatory. We will not make that a roadblock to continue. If you have a bank statement from a bank where you have already established a relationship, we'll collect those. If you don't, guess what? We will set you up with the appropriate deposit accounts that you need. And our branch managers are fully equipped and empowered to recommend, basic accounts that may save a lot of money to our veterans. We have a flyer that I will share at the end of this call, and our flyer actually identify a specific deposit that M&T recommends for our VAs, for our VA applicants. So I will be happy to share that in the end. We will, if you happen to be applying for government contracting and you already have a signed contract, would like to have it. If you don't have it, no problem. We'll still continue. But it is important to really build that local, connection with a local banker and a local branch manager. At this stage, I want to kind of share one example, and I'll try my best, not to share any name. When I say share your story with a local banker, especially local bankers like me, George, and Winston on this call, and Andy, because we will go to bat for you. I'm thinking of an example where a small business owner in this area ended up having a big contract on the West Coast, a multi-million-dollar contract. But guess what? You would think that with a multi-million-dollar contract, you could walk into a bank and get financing. Not at all. They didn't know the person. They didn't know the business. The contract was valid. money in the bank. They didn't care, didn't get any financing. But guess what? Because we knew the person, we knew the business, we knew what took place prior to landing that contract. We knew how much that contract was going to generate. We were able, being on this East Coast here, to establish a line for that business to actually go and service that contract, successfully. So very, very, very important. So like I was saying, for item number 10 here, if you don't have those, fine. But if you do, we'll take it. But if you happen to have been with us and you have shared your story with us, we'll use it to your advantage. So this is pretty much for a startup businesses. Now, I'm going to go back again to existing businesses. So if you are an existing business and you have been around for more than 2 years and you need more than 100,000, well, we will not do the quick app. In my space, I can handle business loan and make recommendations anywhere from 250,000 up to 10 million, and for businesses in the revenue ranges of 30 million annually and under. However, M&T is a community bank at heart. We are a big bank by our size, but at heart, we really want to be in the community. Even though, the quick application is outside of my credit, range, I will always work with our branch managers and partners like George to come with comprehensive solutions and make sure we address every need. So no loan is too small for us, no loan is too big for us. We will hold hand with our branch managers. We will hold hand with our partners like George and our partners in the Treasury Department, Merchant Services, to make sure we cater to all your needs. On top of that, once you establish that relationship with our branch managers and you get your package, we will make sure we continue to follow up with you. We will check in with you, yearly, just like you do your medicals. We will make sure every year we know where you have been the year prior, where you're going, and how best we can continue to assist you. Being on a stage like this today is very rewarding for me, because this is where I am happy the best, coming and share information. So feel free to reach out to us. And at the end of this, we will have many resources to share. These are some of the flyers that we will have for you in the resource directory. The American dream for those who help to preserve it. So I just love this flyer. It says, M&T salutes our veterans with our VA mortgage. So this will be available with some of the key points George mentioned earlier. And I will also have in the resource directory the VA lending solutions through M&T. In my earlier point, I was mentioning that we have specific deposit solutions recommended for veterans, just because we want to make sure, we minimize cost to almost zero or no cost at all, depending on the business type. So we have that. And we also have other flyers that I will be sharing. I'm so sorry. Let me get to the... Yeah. I will have a flyer in the resource directory about the business credit via Quick App. And this is what I was mentioning earlier. The Quick App flyer will be there for anyone who feels like you need funding today and you have been around for at least 2 years and you have been frustrated elsewhere. We can help you. And I will have this flyer from one of our community partners. Of course, the SBA. We are #1 SBA lender. I couldn't finish this call without sharing us another area where the SBA can help you, especially if you're planning to acquire real estate. This is a flyer from the SBA 504 area. I will make this one available. And at the end of the call, I would share many, many, many resources. When I began, I did say that we want to make sure things that we share today will continue to help you beyond this conference. So I will have many links that I will be sharing in the chat room and also emailing Anne. We have our business portal that covers from business plan and anywhere in between. We will have our financial literacy link for home buying. I do have that link also to come. I will also have a link for budgeting. So that will definitely give you a quick idea on how to create a budget and save money for rainy days. I also have a special presentation, which is also a resource you can use for entrepreneurs, as well as banking for life changes. So many training that I have put together that I have collected from our MNT library for the folks on this call, because like I said, it's not about just this conference. It's how we're going to continue to hold your hand and really provide assistance throughout your journey. So thank you so much for having us, and we can open it up for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Imbalu, again, for all of this informative information. I think a couple things that kind of stand out too, and I am a big fan of even promoting this, which is one of the reasons why I did the Veterans BizUp conference, is trying to also provide services to those who served our country who may not have a honorable discharge, or maybe they have a discharge becoming unbecoming other, but it doesn't mean that they were really bad. And so for those folks that may come to you and say, is there some special circumstance in which they could get a mortgage, or they can get a home or a business loan, are there programs out there that will help get them some of those benefits that they otherwise wouldn't qualify for if they were honorable discharge?
Yeah, George, you wanna provide?
That would probably be one I need to look into. I've never had that question, honorable versus not honorable discharge. I would say the grant is available depending on the median area income and where you purchase, no matter what. And it's just a matter of, do they qualify for the VA loan or not? The next step down would be a minimum of 3% down if the VA loan is not a possibility. But that is something I can find out and get back to you on, Anne.
Thank you, George. So on the consumer lend, there's a lot of flexibility there. So, and on the business lending side, that's really where we collect that honorable discharge, to all with the goal of getting all the SBA discounts you can get. But we understand there may be situations, so that will not be a deterrent. We will look into other financing options. We may just go strictly MNT loans, conventional loans, with no special rate discounts, or we will look into MNT grants, as George had mentioned earlier, or we'll make sure connect with other community partners to also offer. But it's on a one-on-one situation. Every story is different. Not any two loans are alike. So sit down with us. We will definitely find a way out.
Okay, excellent. I do have another question back to George again for mortgage. Okay, so with the housing market the way it is right now, with the shortage of homes and the abundance of buyers, how has M&T have been managing folks that want to buy a home, but they're just not there, or they're taking longer to get through the process, or they have to maybe readjust what they're trying to do? How has M&T been managing that situation since COVID?
So I manage it really through my online application and technology that we offer at M&T. And everyone, like I said, Blue said, is slightly different. So if you're slightly off with your credit score or need to pay down some debt, I put a system in place for them, and I stay in contact with everyone within 30 days or so at a minimum to make sure they're staying on track to what we're talking about. So homeownership can be a possibility. We make a strong pre-approval letter on our end. So when I produce the pre-approval letter, you know that I've reviewed credit, income, asset documentation, run it through an automated underwriting system. I do contact the seller's agent, give them a brief thumbs up about the borrower and how they're qualified and a good fit to purchase the home. Always available via phone, email, to try to go the extra mile for my customers, more or less.
Oh,
Hey, and can I jump in on that real quick?
yeah, I was going to ask you if you had a comment.
I'm in a very unique situation when it comes to that question, because it took me and my wife 9 months. We just were close to closing on a house, and I used George. So the process was great. I mean, we went in, we filled out the application, and then 9 months later, we're finally getting to the finish line. But like George said, we got that pre-approval letter. I kept George in contact on houses we were putting bids on. He's getting me, the letters I need based off the mortgage amount. Kept me informed on the next steps. And, I know I'm patting you on the back, George, and we're colleagues here, but as a customer going through you, it was a fantastic experience. And I'm really excited. We're closing on the house in about a week and a half. So we're right at the finish line. But yeah, it took a long time, Ann, but George stays in contact, and you just got to work your way through it until we get more demand out there in the market for housing.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Winston, I saw you raise your hand. You have a question. Take yourself off mute. There you go.
No, I was congratulating Andy, and because he's just a recipient of the magnificent service, and so I was just saying congrats on the new home.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm actually searching for my second home, and I mean, it is crazy trying to find and bid. They're being snatched up left and right, and there's just so much going on. So I figured that might be an interesting question to put out there. And so, we are now at the end. I want to thank M&T Bank for not only supporting and being a sponsor of this event, but just being a great supporter overall, being good champs, coming in all 3 days, checking in and participating and offering their expertise to everyone here at the Veterans BizUp Conference. I surely appreciate all of you. And for those who attended, we are down to our very last presentation. If we want to go right into it so that we can end a little early and we can give you back the rest of the day. And so I want to take like a couple
and this is Sherman Coleman. How you doing?
Go ahead, Sherman.
Are you going to have their contact information available?
Absolutely. It's actually in the resource directory. We're going to put it in the chat window as well. And
okay.
Don't worry, because everyone who attended will get the link for all 3 days of this recording, so that you can go back and get the information. You will also have a link to any handouts. And I believe, Emily, if you could send me that extra additional flyer, I will add that to the link and resend it out to everyone.
Yes, please.
So that
yes.
They can have that. And I want to make sure that you definitely get the information, so everyone who has registered and attend will receive the recording. The recording will probably come out next week once they're all downloaded and edited, so that way you have a smooth transition to all of the presenters, and you'll get the link to the handouts immediately.
Oh, okay.
As well as the resource directory.
Thanks, Ann.
And thanks so much for having us. It's been great participating, and thanks for getting us organized. Really appreciate it.
All right, so we're down to our last strategy session, our last 20 minutes. We have Thomas Ellis back on here, and he's going to give us the 9 tips on how to close a sale, to close us out, to take us to the next level. And I'm going to go ahead and make Thomas, if you have any slides, I'm going to make you co-host so that you can share your slide, and you can go ahead and freely begin your presentation now.
Good afternoon, and thank you guys for sticking through this. It's been an awesome 3 days. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Can anybody see this?
Yes, I can see it.
Yep, we can see it. Beautiful picture.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So there's nothing more important for a small business, veteran-owned business, any business, is to learn some tips and tricks on how to close those big deals quickly so we can grow our business. So the first one is, accept no excuses for poor performance, right? And this, we want to talk about, we are accountable for what we do each and every day. So we really need to focus in on getting the job done, making sure that we're contacting our prospects, making sure that we're doing everything that we are capable of doing and not accepting any excuses for poor performance. The second one is don't use technology as a crutch. Sorry about that. Don't use technology as a crutch.
Okay, let me interrupt for just a second. So we see your LinkedIn page, but did you have a presentation that you wanted to share?
Yes, I thought I'm sharing the presentation. No?
It's a LinkedIn. It's probably on your second screen. So if you want to stop and reshare, just to make sure we're all looking at the same points. But I love this picture of this lady here.
Let me see here. Share that.
Yeah, you may have to like stop share and then reshare.
Okay, let me.
All right.
Okay, so don't use technology as a crutch. We live in a world now where people want to use technology to magically close deals, right? Emails and marketing campaigns and, emails and texts. But the one tool, the most valuable tool that we have in our tool bag that is being used less and less, and that's picking up the phone and making a phone call. You're going to get more accomplished when you pick the phone up and make the phone call than any other technology that you use, because you're interacting at a person. So just keep that in mind. That is a great way to increase your sales. The other one is stop chasing poor prospects, right? How many times have we called on people 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30 times? Either we don't get them, we get voicemail, we get email, or they tell us that they're not interested, and we continually call these prospects. So you want to make sure that you are focusing on your ideal clients and spending all of your energy on your ideal clients, not people that you're just chasing. The next one is don't. Oops, let me go back. I can't see that one. Can you?
Don't take your customers for granted.
Okay, there you go. So when we talk about,
Yes.
taking our customers for granted, that customer, you may be selling one section of that company, one division, one group. Okay, why not ask them if they can give you some referrals to other departments or other companies that they can introduce you to help you close more sales? Your customers are ready and willing to help you, but we need to ask them that so they can be helpful. Number 5, don't assume you know everything about your customers. The more you learn about your customers, the more opportunities you're going to find to help that customer solve their problems. And even if you do not have the product or service that can solve that problem, your customer's going to be really appreciative if you can refer some people that you know that can help them solve that problem. And here's one of my favorites, right? Don't rely on price to make the sale. I work with a lot of different clients, and many of them think that, well, Thomas, if I just lowered my price, the customer's going to buy. Well, that's not true. And we should never lower our price to get a deal. We need to rely on our product knowledge, what we know about that customer is, what problems does my product solve that this customer may have an interest in. Number 7, don't forget to sell your company. You work for a dynamic organization. You need to let the customer know who have you helped that were in similar situations to what they are going through, and share some of your company's successes with them going forward. Number 8, don't wing it, plan it. So when we wake up every morning, do we have a plan of what we're going to do that particular day? Or are we just going to go through the entire day just doing it on a whim? Do I have appointments set up? Do I have people that I'm going to concentrate on? What is the plan for the day? You should have a plan every day if you want to be successful in closing those sales. And number 9 is get new habits. You know, we all need to get better in some areas, but what are some great new habits that you can work on to get better at your craft? Do you need to get better at prospecting? Do you need to get better at giving great presentations? Do you need to get better at asking those dynamic questions that uncover the customer's needs? Whatever you need, just remember, a good habit takes about 30 to 45 days to be instilled in you so you can capture that new habit. And those are the 9 ways to close more tips, to close more sales. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, let me just say that those are some 9 really great tips that you shared, Thomas. All about how you could just get right to the point and not wasting time chasing customers that's obviously not going to buy, and just really focusing on selling your product and really knowing your business. I think those are the 2 that stood out for me, definitely, for sure. And I mean, I would want to probably ask the question to you is, you know, you shared the 9 tips on closing sales. What are some of the few tips that you could sell that will cause someone to lose a sale?
So the tips that can cause you to lose a sale is not presenting the right solution, right? So which means that you didn't ask the deep, hard questions to understand what their problems were really deeply. So your solution is not in line with what they need done, and then they say no, okay? The other thing is not doing what you say that you're going to do, right? You know, if you say, Mr. Customer, I'm going to call you tomorrow at 3 o'clock, or I'm going to send you this information by close of business tomorrow. If you don't do that, people are probably not going to do business with you because they want somebody that's reliable, that they can do business with.
All right, excellent. Does anybody else have any specific questions about sales in general? Because I know we're getting down to the last few minutes. Okay, what about you, Winston? You good? Mr. Coleman? I got to call on some names, make sure you're awake. But if you happen to have any other questions, make sure, Thomas, you put your contact information in the chat window below so that people can reach out to you, ask you further questions about their specific sales situation. And again, I want to thank everyone who has attended throughout the whole 3 days. You guys are amazing to be here and really getting the information, because it shows that you are present, you are ready to make a move, you're ready to grow your business, and you're ready to get your health in order, and you're also looking at your career. And I really appreciate that. And I want to give a special thank you again to M&T Bank, Capital One, and Leidos, and all of the presenters who supported this event to make this happen, to keeping me encouraged to keep moving forward. And I just really am ecstatic that we were able to get through 3 days of really good information. And if you feel like that you want to do business with Destination Achievers, you want to share information, I put the website down and my email down, so you can reach out to me if you would like to do anything that pertains to the community, or maybe work with small business owners through my other organization, Austin Tech. I would love to hear from you as well. Schedule a meeting. Just let me know. This has been an awesome experience. I hope you had an awesome experience as well. And I thank everyone so much.
You know, Ann, I would like to take this opportunity, and I would be remiss if I did not mention what a great job you did spearheading us and leading us through this. I think you should be given a round of applause as well. Thumbs up. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, everyone. And I hope everybody have a really blessed day and a blessed rest of the week.